Hey everyone, you're listening to the official podcast of 4playernetwork.com. Check us out at that address for everything you need to know about our community, monthly giveaways, and nightly live streams. You can even support us on Patreon at patreon.com/4player. And last but not least, you can catch the live recordings of these podcasts every single Thursday night on our Twitch channel. We hope to see you there. Enjoy. Welcome everybody to 4Player Podcast, episode 646. It is June 18th, 2020. My name is Nick Henderson. I'm joined tonight by Brad Simons.
Present.
Nolan Hedstrom.
How's it going?
And Christopher Davis.
Good evening.
We've got a good show lined up. This is actually our first, what I would say, quote-unquote, regular show we've had in a few weeks. Last week was our Final Fantasy VII / Half-Life Alyx spoiler cast. So if you haven't listened to that yet, and I'm assuming if you've played either of those games, please go listen to it. We had a good time discussing them. We went pretty deep into both of those games, especially Final Fantasy VII. David joined us for that conversation as well. So check that out. I also want to let everybody know that I recorded an episode of the Revival Club this week with David and community guest Kenton FTW. We talked about Okami. We talked about it for like an hour and a half. There was a lot to unpack from that game. Yeah. So that episode is actually available now if you're a supporter on Patreon or Twitch. But it's going to be available on Saturday morning to everybody else at 9 a.m. So check that out. Also related to the Revival Club, we are playing our next game right now, which is Sleeping Dogs. And we're blowing through that. The game's pretty cool too. So I'll record another episode about that game sometime in July. But anyways, back to this show. Like I said, we have a lot to talk about tonight. It's kind of E3, but kind of not. So there's like fuck tons of demos that we've dived into. We'll talk about Gloomwood. We'll talk about Desperados 3. We'll talk about Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, which is what I've been playing in VR. So got a lot of stuff to cover tonight. But before we do that, just how are you guys doing? Anybody have any fun stories to share before we get into it?
No.
Anything in? Oh man, I guess we're all still kind of.
I said no.
No.
Well, hold on, give me a second. Something funny might have happened this week.
All eyes on you, Nolan.
Oh God,
save this show.
Well, not funny necessarily, but for the first time in I don't know however many weeks, Animal Crossing has been out. We finally had a big turnip price on our stock market. Our turnips were going for 572 bells.
Damn! I saw you tried to rope Brad into that, and he was like, "Nah, we've already dropped it."
I didn't know if he was still playing, and I'm not big on the turnip
specifically.
Market
I said
anymore.
we out the game. Okay,
yeah.
We out.
They're
the
out
game.
the turnip game. I'm not like going ham like I used to. I am maybe every week I'll buy like one inventory's worth of turnips, and then at some point I'll sell them for a small profit.
I'm going there.
What, Brad? What?
This is how bacon is supposed to be. No.
Anyway, one of the main reasons I don't really need them anymore is because I'm currently at 17 million bells.
Holy shit.
So I don't really need to be making a large profit every week. I'm pretty much set
to be
for a
one
while.
Of the 1%.
Honestly, I doubt I'm one of the 1%. I know Bernadette was telling me there's some guy he's going for $1 billion.
There's an Animal Crossing billionaire?
He wants to be a billionaire.
Oh, why did I not? Why did I not think of that?
So every week, the problem with this is, like I said, someone had, Victus came to our island and he sold 2 inventories worth of bells, and he made out with 3.8 million bells. And so think of how long it would take to get from 1 million to 1 billion. Did I say billion? I meant million if I said. So think of how long that would take. And so this guy, apparently every week, it takes him like hours and hours every day to go and sell all of these turnips. His island is like covered in turnips, like everywhere. It's like an insane effort to try and sell all of these turnips.
Just drowning in turnips.
Yeah, basically. I'm sure his island's rated like 1 star because there's technically like junk everywhere.
There's no room to walk. It's all turnips.
Yeah.
This is not video game related, but I have a short story.
Mhm.
So Robin left last week. She left me.
Sorry,
She's
then.
coming
Sorry,
back,
then.
right?
Yeah, she's coming back. No, she went to Colorado to visit her mother, and she decided to drive, obviously, because we're in the middle of a pandemic, right? So I was
Did
like,
she go straight through, or she take like a hotel?
straight through. She left at like 5 in the
Damn, I
morning.
did
She
that.
got there.
I did that when I was a kid. I say a kid. I think the last time I did it, I was maybe like 14. But yeah, that's a hell of a trip, man.
Yeah.
Basically 5 a.m. to about 8:30 at night. So she made it. Spoiler alert, she made it. But so that day she left early in the morning, and I was like, all right, so I'm just gonna hang out at home, play video. It was last Saturday, so and I streamed in the afternoon. I played some of the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners, and I was like, oh, this game's great. So I was playing that for like 2 hours on the stream, or whatever. And I had been checking in with her like every 2 hours or so, just to make sure everything's cool. And before she left, I was like, I'm gonna give you all the stuff out of my car, like jumper cables and stuff, just to make sure you have everything you need in case something happens. She got new tires the other day, and I was like, oh, this is good. All right, she's good. She's good to go. And then right after I finished my cast, her mother calls me, and I was like, well, this is strange. This never happens. Answer the phone, and her mom is like freaking out. She's like, I've been trying to get
You
when
make
was
an
the last time?
honest woman of her.
She's like, when was the last time you talked to her? I was like, 2 hours ago, 3 hours ago. She's like, I've been trying to get a hold of her for an hour and a half, and it's going straight to voicemail, and I have no
Well, dude,
idea where
she's
she
probably
is.
just in a fucking dead zone. But here in Colorado, I can imagine like.
But usually
Yeah.
dead zones, you would go in and out. Like I feel like it's very rare to go through an hour and a half of dead zone. Not to mention when you're in a dead zone, doesn't it usually still ring on your end? It's just on her end, it's not going through. Like it was going straight to voicemail. And
No,
I
it
gave
would
her
go straight to voicemail if there was no. If the tower could not connect to your phone, then yeah, it would just go straight to voicemail.
It has been a while since I've tried calling someone who is in a dead zone, I suppose. But I was like, it is strange. And the last time I talked to her, she was just crossing over the border into New Mexico. So she could be anywhere between New Mexico and her mom's house in Colorado. So her mom was like, can you give me your license plate number? And I was like, oh my God, I didn't write her license plate number down. I don't have it. And she's like asking me questions like, what model car is it? And I was like, oh my God, I don't remember the model. I was like, I did all of the wrong things. She called me like 20 minutes later, and she's like, my phone died and I didn't realize it. And then it took like 10 minutes for the phone to come back on. So for about 20 minutes, I was having a meltdown. And her mom,
Why is she not charging her phone? That's the
Well,
real question.
I don't know. I gave her
My
specifically
assumption
my
is,
charger.
here's my assumption what happened. She had her phone plugged in, stopped to get like gas or a snack, unplugged her phone, and then forgot to plug it back in. Maybe she had GPS on, and GPS
She did have
drains her phone's
GPS.
battery like crazy.
Yeah.
So I can imagine her like pretty quickly. Like if I go from home to work and I don't plug my phone in and I have like Waze up or something, it'll drain like 10-15% in like half an hour.
And that's
So I can
pretty much
imagine-
exactly what happened.
Yeah.
It's funny. She called me when she called me. I was in the middle of my meltdown, whatever. But I had just gotten off the phone with her mom, who was like, "I'm calling the highway patrol in Colorado and New Mexico." And I had to dig through her closet to find all of her like car paperwork. And the only thing I could find that had her license plate number on it was a handwritten thing from Firestone when she got her car inspected. And the guy has the worst handwriting in the world, so I could only make out like 3 of the numbers on it. So I gave her my best guess as to what it was. So that was fun. But she called me, and she's like, yeah, sorry. And she's like, give me the explanation. And I was like, stop talking. Call your mother. She's on the phone with the police. So that was
She
my
have an old
Saturday night.
phone?
No, she's got the same phone I do. It's a Google Pixel.
Oh, wow.
It's just, whew. So that was a fun story. Anyways,
Huh.
not video game related. Just wanted to share my panic mode that I had last week. But anyways, neither here nor there. Let's get into it. I want to read some feedback from our last episode. Again, this is from our spoiler cast episode. Although I've screened these comments, none of them are spoilerific or anything like that. And Crispy will be joining us in the second segment, so he can't really respond to this. But the first comment tonight comes from Drew327. And I don't have any context for this. He just says, Crispy leading the PS5 talk last week was a real downer.
Yeah. that's most. I mean, we didn't structure that very well, and Nolan didn't chime in that much.
I mean, it was specifically like we had a conversation about it. Me and you did, Brad, because we talked about it while it was happening.
Yeah,
and then like 3 hours later, we were going to talk about it all over again.
But you
so
understand, for a lot of our listeners,
yeah,
a large portion of our listeners, who would just like, download the show or stream the audio, right, have no idea that we did that, or no idea that it was presented as.
To be honest, we formatted it in a way that benefited us more than the audience. So for that, we apologize. He gave you the quick highlights and skipped over some of the less.
Not enough Star Wars. Is that what he said? I can't remember.
Sure, let's go with that.
Where's Batman?
Hey, that was actually me that said that. The Drunken Merchant says, really enjoyed the podcast this week. As always, you guys are amazing as ever. Oh, thank you. He says, I believe both. Again, we did also talk about the PS5, as you can probably tell. So some of these comments are towards that. But he says, I believe both the digital and disc versions of the PS5 will be the same price. The digital version, however, will come with an extra terabyte or 2 of storage. This will encourage buyers to really think about which method they want to use to store their video game library going forward, and how Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo will approach the situation with future console releases. What do you all think?
I very much doubt it. The hard drive, or the hard drives, the storage they are using in this, these special SSDs that are M.2 SSDs, they are not like, a 2.5 inch drive. They are like the long thin ones that kind of look like RAM, if you aren't familiar with them. Those aren't cheap. I highly doubt they are going to put more of that in the digital version for free. I could imagine down the road us seeing another SKU with a larger one, but that's not extremely likely.
So we don't
just
think
because
the disk drive would not offset the price of the extra storage.
I don't think so. Honestly, the disk drive is like fucking $5. Like, it is not like an expensive. I know, Chris Davis, I know it's not $5. It is like max price. I could see it being is like, for them, is like $50. Like, I don't think the drive itself is that expensive of a component. I do potentially see that SKU as maybe being slightly more expensive just because they can get you on it, because this drive cost us $100, whatever. I really don't see them being.
Wait, so are we thinking there's a scenario here where the digital version is the more expensive box?
No. I think the digital version is going to be cheaper.
Oh, okay.
Definitely. I think there's going to be $100 difference, but I think they are going to have the same storage amount. And the reason I think that is because Sony has moved away from like releasing different size hard drive storage SKUs, mainly because it's so easy to replace them. It's easier for them to just release one, and the people who really care about the storage will go out and get it on their own. Like, I will probably at some point expand the storage on the PS5. I did it on my PS4.
And that's one thing I've
definitely
said since the beginning, right? Is that the expanding storage on this new console is supposed to be a lot easier.
Microsoft has already been talking about that too.
Yeah,
they already have SKUs for actual memory cards that you plug in.
Yeah, it's a nice trend. I hope it's as easy as they say, but it's probably going to be expensive. Our next comment tonight comes from Cheese Kid. Again, no context here, guys. Maybe give context, especially when you say things like, quote unquote, fuck the Shadow of the Colossus remake.
It's a little rude.
Unquote. Do people hate that remake for some reason?
No.
Okay.
No, people like it. It reviewed well. Some people don't like.
I think overall
how a little bit of the uniqueness of the look / atmosphere, because of the look, was a little bit lost in the graphical remake of the game.
Was it lost or just replaced? I mean, I guess it's kind of the same
Something
thing,
was
but like
lost.
Something may have been
believe that for sure.
You're right. I mean, but like I would never say that remake is like lacking atmosphere or beauty or anything like
Shadow
that.
of the Colossus is still a really great game, and you can get atmosphere from other things.
Sure. So yeah, I guess Cheese Kid just has it out for that remake. But hey, to each their own.
I don't think that's what the question was. Or
it wasn't a question. It was a statement. He says, "Fuck the Shadow of the Colossus remake."
Oh, it's a statement. Yeah,
it's a statement.
I'm with him.
Yeah, that was me.
I own it. One of my favorite games of all time. I own it. I have not played it. The remake.
Hey,
I feel like
but it's on your shelf.
Yes, it's on my shelf.
Are you ever going to play it? Because I feel like that's something you could just knock out real quick in like a weekend or something.
Nick, have you ever talked to yourself?
Like replaying it, I'll
Do you hear what you're saying?
I also own the PS3 version remaster of the game, which is my preferred version.
That's the one that came packaged with Eco, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll
I
play
have
that
both of
one.
those. I kept that version specifically because like I thought usually when these things kind of happen, I'm like, well, I'll just trade in the last gen version for the new one or whatever. But I was like, the other one has Eco in it. I would like to have that nice version of Eco, so I kept it.
See,
and our
I would
last
be
comment
like,
tonight,
I want to play the remake on my PS5 at 4K 60. I mean,
but
why
again, the
would, I
remake.
don't know if I would really want to go back to a PS3 version that's 720p and just barely runs better than 30.
Well, but there is a very different. I mean, that artistic, the aesthetic that, or the atmosphere, I guess, that we just talked about, that may have been kind of lost in translation to the PS4 remake, is present in the PS3 version, because the PS3 version is just an upscaled version of the one that came out on the PS2. The PS4 is a from the ground remake that completely redoes the assets and all that jazz. By the way, have you all seen some of the new screenshots of the Demon Souls
Some of the
remake?
new screenshots.
Yeah, it looks
or-
like
There was a
Demon
new-
Souls.
There was a new one today
Oh, no,
that I
haven't seen
saw on Twitter. I know a lot of them kind of came out last week after that announcement was made, but
That's
there's
when
a
I
couple new
definitely
ones.
need to see like in motion some gameplay footage of. I think some stuff looks better than others. Like people keep showing the Tower Knight. I definitely think there's a look in that old Tower Knight screenshot that is missing from the new Tower Knight screenshot. There's a haziness. There's a lighting difference. Like it's very dark and kind
I
of
will say this.
oppressive looking and dreamlike even, and that's sort of gone in the new one. But then I see other screenshots. I'm like, well, this actually looks pretty nice. So I need to see
think
more. I need to see it in motion.
It looks like this remake, just based on screenshots, does kind of. You could definitely tell this is made by the same people who made the Shadow of the Colossus remake, because their approach to like aesthetic seems
Make
very
it prettier.
similar.
It's so weird though, because like they could do what they're doing to like so many other games in like remake form, and no one would have a problem with it. But they chose like these both of their well, I mean they've done other games, right? Like
Yeah.
I think their Metal Gear games, are really great and stuff. But like as far as like redoing all the art assets, first they do Shadow of the Colossus and then they do Demon Souls, which are known for like being like these very
Artistic achievements.
well, I mean, just atmosphere. I mean, visuals equating to like atmosphere,
Right.
like a very specific look that is evoking a certain like kind of dreary decay. Look, you know what? Let's move on.
All right. Last comment tonight comes from Slopdog. He says, the Final Fantasy VII remake discussion was absolutely riveting. In y'all's voices, there was panic and excitement and fear and anger. There's so many paths where this remake can go, how weird and wild and wrong it can turn. I haven't played this game myself, but I'm just totally fascinated by what might come next. It's just so unique. Can't wait to hear the arguments and theories, and Brad's blurb was like poetry. I half expected it to be in haiku form. I feel like it would have been if that was Crispy's. Crispy did an entire top 10 list in haiku form. But yeah, that was certainly an interesting discussion. And if nothing else, that remake is going to.
I'm just sad.
provide
Can we
years of
share
banter.
Crispy's like failed top 10
idea
project that never happened?
Oh,
Because it was so brilliant.
Which one were you talking about?
The one
I
that he
guess.
pitched but never did.
But what if he still wants to do it someday?
Come on. Fine. Maybe he'll do it one day.
Well, maybe ask him in the second segment if you can share, if you
Put
can
him on the spot.
divulge these secrets.
Dog, are you going to do that top 5 or not?
I would love to. Hey, he had a really good idea for a top 5 as a joke, and then he started giving all these examples, and I was like, you should make that video. I would watch that. And the only person I feel like on this site who can make that video is Crispy. So I'm hoping that happens someday. But anyways, that's neither here nor there.
To be fair, a good number of the top 5s we've discussed in the past several years have been Crispy specific. Like that, we don't think there's anyone else that could do it just quite as good as him.
Well, maybe it'll happen. We'll see. But anyways, thank you guys for your feedback. If there's anything you want to chime in on, anything you want to say after tonight's discussions, please head over to 4playernetwork.com and leave us a comment on the post for this episode, and we will read and react to it next week on the show. But for now, let's jump into the thick of it. I think we decided we wanted to start with a new game, the newest game, I guess, actual full game that is available to play for all is Desperados 3. And Chris Davis is the one who's played the most of this. However, I did play the first mission last night, so I can, which I think is probably also the demo, right? So I think Brad
why
played
did
that.
they call this Desperados 3?
I didn't even
Like,
know there was a Desperados 1 and 2.
It's an old fucking series.
It's a very old series.
And like to call it 3, it's like everyone's like, what, 3? You know, it's not a lot of like publishers and stuff will like not do something like that, even when it's a more recent series, right?
They
like,
should just call it Desperados.
Or yeah,
I'm
I mean, fuck it, just call it Desperados.
Well, I mean, there's two reasons. Number one, I'm 90% certain they chose to call it Desperados 3 because numbered titles sell better than titles with subtitles.
What?
And then
but like,
number two,
but like when they're
this is a prequel.
Prequel.
Yeah, but like,
wow.
There might
Even
be story
more
reasons,
reason not to call
but
it
like,
3.
there's so many games out there that are games and movies that are just like, we are going to just, even though like, even there's movies out there, I can't think of one right off the top of my head, but there are movies out there that it's like, this is a sequel, but we're just gonna call it, you know, what it, like the name of it with no subtitle, no number, just treat it like a reboot because it's been so long.
Reboot. Yeah.
They could have called it Cowboy Tactics and it would have sold better.
Does Desperados 3 I'm not familiar with the first two at all. Is this like reminiscent of what the first two were, or is this like a completely different style?
I honestly don't know. I mean,
they're like
Desperados
very
2 came
early
out back
2000s.
in 2002.
I mean, it's an old fucking series.
Yeah, it's old.
Well, this one feels new.
Yeah, I mean, it's that type of
really
game.
good.
It's that commando style game, right? Where you're moving, I mean, it's almost like an RTS, but you have a lot of control over what your units can do, and you only have a few of them.
Right. And so coming into
stealthiness is important.
So one thing, I didn't really know what to expect from this because one, obviously I've never played Desperados. Two, I've never played Shadow Tactics, which is what most people tend to compare this to. I was kind of half expecting this to be kind of like XCOM, and I guess in a way it can be.
It's very similar to Shadow Tactics.
I mean, it's 99% Shadow Tactics.
Is it made by the same people?
It's just a Western aesthetic instead of a medieval Japan setting.
Well, you know what? It's pretty cool. I like the aesthetic. I will tell you this though. I spent about an hour playing this last night, and it's hard. I haven't finished the first mission yet, and I'm also very slow.
Finished, or have you? And so I don't really know a whole lot about it. Have you had to like restart stuff, or you're just going very slow? Or okay,
it encourages you to constantly save. In fact, I don't know if you can turn this off or if it's just temporary, but in the first mission at least, if you go more than a minute without saving, it pops up a thing that says has like a counter that says this is how long it's been since your last save.
Yeah, you can turn that off, but I think that's a standard thing with this game and its predecessor.
I changed it to 5 minutes and it still pops up every like minute or something. I don't understand it. I think it's bugged. Just turn that shit off, but don't forget to save.
It's good to like leave on it early to kind of get in, to remind you to get in the habit of hitting F5 to quick save over and over again. But yeah, like there's like 30 times last night where I just like made the wrong decision. Like, oh, F8, reload.
F9.
F8? Is it F9? I think it's F8. F8, bitch. Yeah.
But it's but I mean, it's really designed for save scumming and just reloading and trying new stuff constantly. But the benefit there is that the load times are almost non-existent.
Yeah, it's very snappy, very quick to reload. So it never feels like that's kind of a problem. I will also say, I think obviously I love Red Dead Redemption and a lot, and I think a lot of people expect like it's a cowboy game, Nick, play the cowboy game. But I feel like outside of Red Dead Redemption, I've never been like the obsessive Western fan, and I wasn't sure if this game was going to like scratch that itch and make me excited for a Western. But I'm really impressed with the presentation. Like the story, like the tutorial mission at the beginning is kind of a nice story twist where you're playing as this young boy who's going who's following his dad around, who's like this desperado, I guess, or he's
an outlaw or something.
Yeah, he's an outlaw, but you're not. He doesn't trust you with a gun or a knife, really. So you're just kind of learning the basics. But like at the very end of the tutorial session, he's like, "Give me a gun, Pa," and he's like, "I'll give you a gun when you can throw this knife into into this target or whatever." And he throws it, and he fucks it up. So he's like, "When you can do that, I'll give you a gun." And then all of a sudden, it's like flash forward, however many years, and you're the kid growing up, and the first thing he does is throw a knife into this dude's face. You know what I mean? And it's like, oh, it was a nice way to kind of like bridge those two timelines without really telling you explicitly what was happening. So I'm kind of digging the framing of the story so far, and it's got like a good look to it. It's got atmosphere. I dig it. I think this is.
I was gonna say, as you play, you'll discover that the characters have pretty decent writing to them, and they interact in a very fun manner.
I liked the voice acting. I actually didn't know this game had like secondary characters. Like I didn't know you were switching between multiple characters. I thought you play the game as the one dude the entire time. So in the very first mission, you meet your first kind of like partner character, and you can switch between them, and he has a completely different move set. Instead of the first guy can toss a coin to like distract enemies, but the other dude is like a medic, and he can throw his like little pouch, his like medic pouch out, and then guards will be like, "Oh, what's that?" And they'll go investigate, and when they open it, it like blows up in their face and like disorients them. So he runs up with a syringe and like stabs them in the throat. Like it's cool. It's just hard. I died a lot, or I fucked up a lot.
You get better at it the more you play.
I'm also just not very used to playing kind of these old class like isometric PC games where I'm moving my character primarily by clicking in a spot and letting him run there, and then and there's a lot of contextual stuff too. So like depending on how many enemies are on screen, if you decide to pull out your pistol, you can target two characters at once versus one. And every weapon has a different range, and you have to take into account like obstacles in front of you. You can kind of see the trajectory of your bullet, but like if there's something in its path, you have to kind of like reposition the camera, which works differently than almost every other game I've played because you're controlling with mouse and keyboard. So I'm not really used to that, but so far I'm really enjoying it. There's a lot of options for like taking out guards. Like you can just, of course, distract and stealth around and shoot dudes, whatever, or you can like push a giant boulder off a cliff and let it land on people. It's cool.
There's so that was a thing in Shadow Tactics where there was some environmental interaction that you could do to distract guards and sometimes kill them. They've amped that up for this game. Like there's rocks and things like that, but as I was showing this footage, there was a target I'm supposed to kill, and he was trying to break a bull. Just riding around trying to break it, and what happens is he'll get mad at the bull and keep going back and forth between a guard to berate the bull. And if you throw a coin at the bull, it pisses him off, and he charges and instantly kills that dude.
You could do something similar to that too with the horse in the tutorial mission, where you can like throw the coin, and like if you time it right as someone's walking behind him, the horse like kicks him in the head.
Oh yeah, just fucking destroys him.
It's cool. It's this game was something I kind of assumed was going to like look neat, but maybe not be my cup of tea. But in the time that I spent with it last night, I think it definitely got its hooks in me. I think this became a game I am definitely going to play more of and try and finish.
The way I would definitely frame this game is that this is an isometric Hitman game with multiple characters that you play as.
I could see it. I mean, there's definitely a lot of freedom as far as how you approach situations, how you try and take dudes out. Can you push them in the well or something?
Oh yeah, you can throw the bodies in the well. Yeah.
Hell yeah! So how much did you end up? I know you streamed this last night. How much did you end up playing?
So I've played about 5 hours at this point. I've beaten 6 missions, I think. This is technically the third mission in the game. Yeah, you go to this Wild West town called Flagstone, and you've got 4 targets that you're supposed to kill. You can approach them in any order that you want. You can try to kill them in any way you want. It's just sitting down and trying to figure out how to go about doing it.
And trying to make sure you're not spotted and stuff. Because stealth, I actually really like the, from a design standpoint, like how they communicate, whether you're spotted or what you're whether you're in danger. Like you can click on enemies and see their like cone of vision, right? So it's green. If you step into the green, it starts to turn yellow, but it starts to fill up slowly from starting at the point of origin being the character. It starts to fill up, and if that yellow reaches you, suddenly it turns red, and you have officially been spotted. So you have a chance to kind of react. Oh my god! Ignore that.
We can hear that.
I know.
And then as part of the vision cone, the striped portion of it, you can squat and kind of hide, and the guards won't see you from a distance. So
You probably like this game, Nolan.
it's
Probably,
really good, Nolan.
but that's. I'm in a situation where, yes, would I like it? Probably. I have too many other fucking games I'm playing right now. I'm trying to do Civ 6.
You're still going with Civ 6?
I'm trying. I haven't really been playing a whole lot, just because I'm busy. But this is another game I could see myself sinking countless fucking hours into, and I don't know if I want to.
And
The Cowboys.
That's the problem.
You love Cowboys
yes,
too.
I do like Cowboys. Yes.
there's also a surprising amount of exploration and things that just experimentation that you want to try out in this game.
There's a lot of
Which is why I don't want to play it.
You should play this. No,
that's why I didn't play like the more recent Assassin's Creed games, because I know I could spend fucking 120 hours on
I think
them.
at the end of the day, though, this is not going to be like a 60 to 70 hour game. This is probably something you can finish in like 20 hours.
Do we have how long to
chip
beat?
away at it?
I checked how long to beat. It has no one's posted one yet. I mean, it just came out.
Okay,
Like
I mean,
I'm going to expect about 15 to 20 hours.
I think it's a
if
safe
it's
bet.
that short. So this game rant thing says 25 to $30.
Yeah,
I
I believe it. I think a lot of that.
There's a lot of replayability in this game. Whenever you play a mission, there are hidden objectives that you can go for. They don't tell you what they are until you've actually either met the conditions to unlock them, or you actually beat the level first.
Shadow Tactics was 25 to 30.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think I think a big chunk of that time is probably from reloading and trying
A lot of
things
trial
to
and
make-
error.
But no pressure, Nolan. We're not just play what you want. But it's a pretty cool game. I'm digging
So
it.
the one thing we didn't talk about yet was the showdown mode.
I haven't. Oh wait, showdown. That's where you like freeze time and you can kind of.
Yeah. So
Pick out
it's the next extension of the shadow mode from Shadow Tactics, to where you pause the game and you can issue a set of commands per character that they will fall out at the execution of a button. So you can
including
program it
movement,
to where,
which is cool because some games just have actions, but you can actually make movement into action as a part of that.
Yeah, so you can move them across the map and then tell them to shoot a dude, or in my case, I was able to take out like three people at once by like moving one character into position and then targeting, because the one guy can pull out dual pistols, and I had him take out two of them while the other one went up behind the third dude and like stuck a needle in his neck. But like they did it because you could use that mode. They did it simultaneously, but at the push of a button, which was really satisfying. Although I'm still trying to kind of figure out exactly how it works, because
and the thing is, it's a big improvement over the shadow mode from the previous game, because in the previous game you only got one action per character, so you could use all 5 characters, but you only got one action per. But in this, you can do multiple actions in a sequence, which I mean, so you can, for example, you can set up to where Hector drops his trap and whistles to attract a guard. At the same time, when that command is executed, you can have Cooper move around behind a bush to attack another guard, and then he can tie him up and hide the body. I mean, it's really cool what they do with the showdown mode and trying to figure out all the different things you can do with it.
Yeah, I'm hoping I get more comfortable using it, because right now I'm just very slow at trying to figure out what I want to do. But overall, really cool. I fully intend to keep playing it, and I'm sure Chris Davis is as well. I think we can probably move on to the next game. I don't know where we want to go from here. We're going to save demos for last. So I wanted to talk briefly about my time so far with The Walking Dead: Saints and Sinners. People have been trying to get me to play this for a while. I was kind of hesitant at first. I thought this came out like last year. It's a 2020 game. Came out in January. And people keep talking about this being like secretly like one of the best VR games to come out in the past few years. Half-Life Alyx is a big deal, but this has actually been proving to be not like the same level of like polish as Half-Life Alyx necessarily, but like just as engaging as Half-Life Alyx in different ways. But so this game obviously takes place in the Walking Dead universe, and it's it's not open world necessarily. There's like big open areas that are interlinked with loading screens or whatever. But when you load into an area, you are straight up freely exploring that environment, and going into buildings and houses and trying to find resources and taking out zombies and stuff. But what I wasn't expecting from this game was how in depth this is. Like there's actually a lot of systems in this game. Like I thought this was going to be a straight up just kind of action game where you pick up weapons and stab zombies and that's kind of it. But there's like a really elaborate crafting system. You have to literally rummage through the environment to find pretty much everything that you like. So right here, I'm at the workbench looking at all the different things I can craft. And right now, I can pretty much only craft a shiv. But I'm trying to find all the resources I need to craft like a shotgun, better running shoes so I can be faster and quieter when I'm sneaking around. And that there's 3 different boards here. And as you can see, there's a bunch of different recipes. And you have to find all that stuff kind of out in the world. But I think what I wasn't expecting, the combat in this game, or like it's first person melee combat. Well, you can also use weapons and whatnot, but like the thing, the hook is I'll get to a zombie here in a second, but like you straight up have to like stab them in the head with a knife and you feel the resistance. Like sometimes the knife doesn't quite go
Nick,
through their
sick
skull.
Fuck.
It is so fucked up. Like there's a zombie in these like catacombs here. If people were watching this, that I was just like freaking out. It's like, because you have a lot of control over the character. So like I'm leaning around corners and trying to be very careful walking through here. But I turn this corner here and there's a zombie. So you literally have to wait for them to get close to you, and you have to kind of like lean into it and try and like stab them before they get their hands around you. So. And then you actually have to pull the knife like out of their head. And sometimes it doesn't want to come out. So there's like zombies coming up behind them and you're trying to like yank the knife out of their head, which is a really unique feeling that I've never... And that sounds really fucked up. But it's unique for a video game, and it's...
If anything...
Walk your way out of this.
If anything, it sort of magnifies how frustrating it is that there's no melee stuff in Half-Life Alyx.
Yeah, it does.
Because a lot of VR games
that's
do
the
really
biggest
awesome
downside
melee.
to Half-Life Alyx.
I don't get it. Why?
Because this game, if anything, proves that like you can do melee combat and make it really engaging.
A lot of VR games have melee combat, like really cool melee combat.
Look at fucking Super Hot VR. Yeah, like that is not like the most advanced game, but the melee combat in that game is super satisfying.
It's the dream, though, right? It's the whole feeling of 1-to-1, like I mean, and that for it not to be in Half-Life is so strange.
It is. It's very strange, and to be honest, I think that melee combat is kind of what elevates this above just being another.
Nick likes this more than Half-Life?
No, I didn't. No. I'm saying it elevates it above
the Days Gone of 2020.
Bitch, let me finish my sentence. The melee combat is kind of what elevates this above being an otherwise like maybe average zombie game. Like I don't know if this would have been nearly as successful if it didn't have this. It would still be fun to explore or whatnot, but like the feel of the combat is what keeps me coming back to it. The other thing that I've turned on that is making this a really immersive experience is there's voice immersion. So like think like Manhunt on the PS2. So while I'm streaming this, I'm talking to chat. I'm like whispering because if I talk too loud, the zombies will hear me and they'll swarm me. Like it's cool. But like you can also use it to distract. So like I'll walk into a house and like there's just like a zombie that's hanging out in a room, but there's something I need to get to him behind it. So like I kind of like backed into the room behind and just like whistled and like stood behind the corner and waited for him to come around and then just like stabbed him in the head from the side. It's super like I was thinking about this like the way you see characters like in the actual like think of the Walking Dead show when they're like trying to be sneaky and come up with unique ways to try and survive and take out zombies when they're in the environment. Like I was thinking like that. And then I had this moment, like the environment is also surprisingly interactive. So the other big thing is when you're kind of out exploring the world, you have a watch on your hand, and at noon every day, the clock tower rings the bell, and the street suddenly like floods with zombies. And I happen to be in this giant like house, kind of exploring and trying to find a bunch of stuff when the bell rung. And I needed to get back to the boat to kind of take me back to the hub area. But like I looked out, I was on the second floor. I looked out off the balcony, and there's like just tons of zombies in the streets. And I was like, I am officially fucked. I don't have like any ammo. My gun, I have like my shiv is almost is almost degraded. This is really stressful. I got to figure out a way out of this house. And I was like, I'm going to try and like get onto the balcony and like jump off the like distract them and then like jump off the balcony and run the opposite direction or something. But it was boarded up and I was like, I was like, how the fuck do I get past these boards? I can't really jump over them. So I pulled out my shotgun, like this really heavy duty double barrel shotgun. And I held it up with both hands and started like hitting the wood with the front, like the end of the gun, and I was breaking each individual piece of wood like that, and it was just like I didn't think that was going to work, but the fact that it did kind of blew my mind. And the whole game is like this. So I've only played like 3.5, 4 hours of it so far, but like I'm super into it. I'm super immersed. I'm gonna be honest. This does feel like maybe a bit of a it's a game of the year contender. Like it's pretty damn solid. I was not
It's on
expecting that.
PSVR as well for people who.
I think it just came out on PSVR like last week or something.
Oh, I see.
So it's definitely there. I don't know how that would feel necessarily. I think part of what's great about this is because, well, I guess you can use the Move controllers. I keep forgetting the Move controllers exist because I don't own them and they cost like $100 a piece or some stupid shit.
What?
It's ridiculous. I mean,
Not
I'm exaggerating, but I tried to find Move controllers like a couple weeks ago, and I couldn't find any online for less than like $60 per controller. It was ridiculous.
People are up in the
I have a
prices
feeling
pretty
that COVID-19 is part of that as well.
That's probably
Dude,
true.
it's the same thing. Like you can't find fucking Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Like my right Joy-Con is fucked up right now. Like it just doesn't work. So I can't play my Switch handheld. And so I was like, oh well, let me just go buy a new set of Joy-Cons. Fucking sold out everywhere. I can find them for like up to prices. I finally found one at GameStop used, and I was like, oh, whatever, I'll buy a used one for like $30.
Yeah.
But still, like new, like they're fucking sold out everywhere.
It's crazy. I don't know, but like I just feel like part of the what makes this game so great is that feeling of like you're using one hand to like hold the flashlight and use it very freeform while holding a knife in your other hand, and you can kind of like turn it and move it however you're comfortable holding a knife. You can hold the knife like this in this game, and I feel like I don't know how that would feel with the Move controllers because they're not contoured the same way to your hands. But again, I haven't really used a Move controller in this way before, so I could be wrong. What are you laughing at,
VR.
So, out of curiosity,
Just call it what it is, Nick.
What?
Poor SVR.
Poor SVR.
So, like the actual kill animations for killing a zombie, are they like canned animations based on how you're holding the weapon, or is it like actual?
The knife enters the head or whatever body part you thrust at in real time. Like there's no like canned animation. It's just like you gotta try to avoid them trying to grab you and get that knife in their head before they bite you.
Okay. I'm just saying, I watched some of your stream and it looked like based on the way you were holding your knife or whatever you had, like you were stabbing him through the eye socket consistently. So I was wondering if like it was just specific canned animations, but okay.
Nick's
I've
watched a lot of Dexter.
I've stabbed them in the top of the head. I tried stabbing them through the jaw, and I have yet to successfully pull that off without also taking damage. But you can totally
Have you stabbed one in the dick?
No.
Have you ever saran wrapped one of them to a table and cut their cheek and caught the blood in a slide and then jerked off?
And
Do you want the answer to that question?
No.
What I'm trying to say, Chris Davis, is nothing about the animations feels canned. It's pretty. What you see is what you get. But you don't stab him in the dick, Nolan, because these are zombies. That ain't gonna do anything. Although theoretically, you could do it.
So what
also,
are the gameplay systems in here?
You can get sick. Like you have to take medicine. You can get sick, and your character will randomly start coughing. So like you could be like in the middle of like trying to sneak up on a zombie, and your character will just be like, and all of a sudden you're like fucked. Or like I said, if I'm talking to chat and I get a little too loud, I can accidentally draw the attention of zombies, but it's so cool to use your voice to like create traps and choke points for zombies.
There are elements to this that make it seem even more exciting than Half-Life, though.
And I think a lot of that is the melee combat. Although I will say this,
and how open-ended it is.
I will say
Half-Life
this
is very linear.
Yeah, I mean, also you can climb like posts and like drainage, like what do you call them?
Downspouts or something? Or?
Yeah, like on the sides of houses, or whatever. You can use those to scale the gutter. Yeah, you can scale the gutters on the side of the house to get up to like windows on the second floor.
I think you're scaling the downspout of the gutter.
Right. Well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant, Nolan. Thank you.
The water spout.
There's a lot of freedom.
Down came the rain.
But
watch the spider out.
But Brad, to what you said, I think a lot of that is because it is open, but I think a lot of it is because the melee combat is there, and the melee combat kind of makes it. I will say this: I did not expect. I kind of expected it to be like really bad story and voice acting and stuff, but so far, I like the voice acting of the character that you're playing as, which is kind of a nameless character. Character they call the Tourist. You just kind of that's their nickname, and all the people that I've talked to are pretty well voice acted, and some of the factions they've introduced so far seem pretty interesting. So I don't know if it's going to end up being like Telltale Walking Dead level of like interest in the story, but so far it seems pretty
I'm gonna need a
good.
second opinion. You have a very hardcore zombie bias, and you even love the Walking Dead show still.
Well, first of all, the Walking Dead show has gotten better. I almost fell off.
Oh yeah, I believe you. No, I believe you,
Brad. You only have to watch 8 seasons before it gets good.
No, you really don't. You really should just start watching again with 9. 9 and 10 have been
Jesus
pretty good.
Christ,
watch the first 2 seasons and then 9.
Hey man, let's not talk about this. Let's move on. Let's move on. Maybe I do have a zombie bias, but I like to think I can also recognize when a game is just good, regardless of its zombie status. Bro
is
Okay.
right.
All right, we can move on.
I might try that actually. It looks cool.
What? The Walking Dead?
Yeah.
Do it. Oh, do you still have? I guess you still have Nolan's headset.
I do still have Nolan's VR. I need to get that back to him.
You should try and squeeze in some Walking Dead before that. You know, your second opinion could be your own.
Do I have access to anybody's VR stuff? I don't think I do.
Yeah, I would say if you had.
Well, Steam. If it's through Steam, is it through Steam?
I have it through the Oculus store.
Oh, okay. Never mind.
I forgot. I played a game when I played Half-Life Alyx. Obviously, I played it on Steam, and I was running into. I don't remember. There was something about it that bugged me, and I don't remember what it was because of the way you had to like boot into the game versus the way it's just an easier transition when you go from the Oculus store. I don't remember what it was.
I think
it's weird.
What you might be thinking of is the fact that you can't play Steam VR with your Oculus without the Oculus app running.
That's it. That's annoying.
Yeah.
Not
you have to have the
huge
Oculus
deal.
app running. Yeah, it's
Not
not the
huge
end of the world, but yes. You generally, when you boot Steam VR, it will automatically boot up the Oculus app.
Right. All right, well, let's move on. We have a bunch of demos. I would say let's talk about Gloomwood first, but I've been talking already for a while. So let's talk about something else. We'll come back to Gloomwood. Nolan, do you want to? You played a demo today.
I thought we were going to go to break before demos.
No, I said we'd do demos. I don't think we're at the end of our first segment. So, right.
Do you want to quickly, Brad, talk about my my Monster Train run, just like the last level from the other day?
No.
Okay. Like 45 seconds, Nick. All right, so here we go. So I'm playing the Melting Remnant was my primary clan, and the Umbra was my second. And so
Big
it's just
combo.
fucking set up perfectly
It's
because
like a
I had
blue black deck.
right? I had the Crucible Warden. And so he's the Umbra that when he gorges on a morsel, he gets a damage shield. And so the other two important cards I had was the Shroud Spike, and the Shroud Spike will activate a morsel 2 times the number of what is the fire called?
Energy,
Like ember, like the ember you have. But I had what is that thing called? I had to look it up. Memories of the Melted. So when you use Memories of the Melted, it gives you ember equal to the number of friendlies you've had die that game,
which counts morsels as well.
Exactly. So this was on Seraph, the final boss, and I used Memories of the Melted. I had 32 ember, and then I used Shroud Spike on a morsel that gave you 3 attack behind the Crucible Warden. So it activated it 64 times, 62 times, whatever it was. So he had 200. Hold on, I took a screenshot.
I think it's been more than 45 seconds.
Well, because you're interrupting me, Nick. I have a video of it.
Of course,
I have a video. But he had 241 attack and 67 damage shield. So he would have to take 67 hits before he even took 1 bit of damage, and so I fucking just destroyed Seraph.
I tweeted at the developer that they should have. You should be able to like hover over the red X or whatever. It should show you how much hit points
extra
the boss would need to actually beat that floor or whatever. Like the negative hit points or whatever you'd call it. That'd be cool.
Anyway, that was my most recent run. It was very, very exciting. But anyway, Nick, you wanted me to talk about Unmetal?
Yeah,
I guess a small part of Unmetal.
Yeah.
Did y'all see that?
Yeah. He was back there earlier. She. Sorry, is that Taco?
She. That's Taco.
She.
Yeah.
Taco. Yeah. Taco was back there earlier. But Unmetal. So Brad messaged me before the show and was like, "Hey, dude, you gotta check out this Unmetal game." And I was like, "Fucking fine, I'll do it." And so it's kind of like OG. It's a parody of OG Metal Gear.
Ooh.
Like the original Metal Gear.
As in not solid.
You like Metal Gear and you like funny
1987, 88. When did that game come out? Pretty old.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a parody. There's constant just in jokes and stuff. Like this whole game, I guess, and I've only played a little bit of the demo, is you being interrogated. And you saw it if you saw the beginning of the clip there. You got interrogated because you got picked up in like a Russian helicopter.
This motherfucker looks like Old Snake.
Right? He's like, "Are you a Russian spy? We found you in a Russian helicopter." And he's like, "Well, I drive a Toyota. That doesn't make me Japanese." It's just like
he's doing a David Hayter parody voice too.
He's David Hayter parody. But like the whole thing is like you can see this part here. He's like, "Oh, I got in prison for a crime I didn't commit." And they're like, "You're under arrest for a crime you didn't commit." And they're like constantly just straight up joking about shit. Like, oh, he has to break out of his cell, so he needs toilet paper. And to get toilet paper, you have to punch the toilet. And it brings you out of the flashback. And he's like, "Why did you punch the toilet? You could have just picked up the toilet paper." The kind of stuff like how in old games you would do random shit, like punch a box or something like that. And there's one part, and you'll probably see it in the footage, where I'm running around. So anytime I encounter a box, I start punching it. I want to break it and see what's inside.
There's people inside it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I'm punching it. It's not breaking. And so I just keep punching it, and it brings me out of the cutscene. He's like, "Why did you keep punching that box?" It's just random shit like that. And it's definitely that's I think how they can get away with it looking exactly like Metal Gear. It's just because it is such a parody of what Metal Gear is. But I don't know. I didn't get too far. I only played it for about 15 minutes. I don't even know how long the demo is. I could have been getting close to the end of the demo. But if you look at the trailer,
demos are usually pretty generous. I've tried quite a few demos from the Steam, whatever they call it, and the Steam Game Festival, and some of them are going like the game me and Nick played is like a 2-hour demo.
I didn't even finish it. I wanted to. It's not that I didn't. I literally ran out of time. and I played it for
dude,
like an hour.
This scene right here is fucking straight up out of Goonies. Like he's hanging in a cell, and the guy walks up, and he's a note on him, and the note says, "You schmuck, do you really think I'd be stupid enough to kill myself?" And that is fucking straight up out of Goonies.
Oh my god,
But anyway,
I like it.
no, yeah, it's good. You have to, it's like I would say it's like I don't know how in depth it is. Like I said, I know from like the trailer that there is clearly like codec conversations with like a colonel type character. I know it is old school Metal Gear in that you're kind of in this facility, you're running around, you're fighting guards, you're like stealthing. Oh dude, there's one part earlier where like a guard sneezed and it showed like an area, and I guess if you're in that area, which I was, you respond, and he's like, "Oh, bless you," and he's like, "Oh, thanks," and then he like freaks out, like the alarm goes off.
I love it.
And I guess if you were slightly farther away, he wouldn't have responded. And there's one part in the trailer too where like you bump into something and the guard's like, "What's that?" And you have like multiple options, and it's like something whale and cat. And so he's like, you choose cat. He's like, "I'm a cat." He's like, "Oh," like, and it's like random shit like that, like just straight up parody. I don't know. Like I enjoyed what I did play.
You've played like OG Metal Gear, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I have like no, because I started with Metal Gear Solid and I never obviously went back and played the OG. So this is.
Did you
Sure.
ever happen to play Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy Color?
Me?
That's a good one.
Or Nolan. I mean that one's really fucking good.
Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy Color.
Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy Color. It's an old school Metal Gear game, but it's probably the most advanced of the old school.
Is it
Because it came
called
out-
Is it called Metal Gear Solid?
It's called Metal Gear
Yes.
Solid. It's actually Ghost Babel, but the US version is just called Metal Gear Solid.
Interesting.
It's good. I
Cool.
played it for 1998 month. Or wait, no, it's a. Oh, I just played it just to play it. I think it's actually a 2000
kind of
game.
incredible that game on that Game Boy Color.
Yeah.
How they make use of 3 buttons to do so many fucking things. Like
If we do 2000 month, I think it qualifies.
Okay.
I've never heard
of it.
room.
I'll look into
Sweet.
it.
It's good.
But yeah, what I played of this, his name is I think Alex Fox or something like that.
Alex Fox.
Something like that. Yeah, it's they call him Fox instead of like Snake, obviously. And I don't know how far this is going to go. If you're watching the footage now, like I said, he's telling a story. I don't know if the entire game is in that format of him like recalling the story, because like in this scenario just now, it was like, oh, I ran into, and you had the option of choosing 1 or 2, and I didn't know what it was, and so I chose 2, and it's like I ran into 2 guards, and it's like, well, fuck.
Oh, so then it changes the story. So it changes the
Yeah.
actual like. Oh, that's cool.
So I don't know how far it's going to go. There's one point where like I pick up a coin. And he's like, "Oh, you found some money." And he's like, "No, I use that to distract guards." And you throw it, and the guard's like, "Oh, I love money." And he like runs over to pick up the coin. Instead of being like a noise distraction, it's like you want them to see it, so they get, "Oh, money."
I like it.
Did you like save in the demo, or did you have to?
Yeah, so you save by peeing at a urinal.
Okay. You should finish it. I want to hear.
Oh no, I definitely will finish the demo. The only reason I didn't get a chance was because after work today I had to do a bunch of stuff and then play this and then like walk the dogs and make dinner. So I didn't have enough time to finish the demo, but I'll definitely finish it, and potentially, depending on how I feel at the end of the demo, I'll pick up the game when it comes out. Yeah.
Developer has made other games before. They made a game called Unepic, which I'm familiar with, which was pretty good.
Is that their thing? All their games are something?
I don't know.
I think that's the name. Like the developer's name is something. It's something like that.
Joseph's in chat, and he says this reminds him of Metal Gear mixed with a Naked Gun, and that sounds awesome.
Yeah, the developers is Unepic. Is their
Unepic.
Name.
Sweet. So we actually have a lot of demos to talk about tonight, and like I said, kind of at the beginning of the show, it's obviously this is around the time we would normally be at E3, and there'd be all kinds of announcements. So a lot of stuff is being stretched out over, like publishers are revealing stuff over a much longer period of time now. So we're getting all these events and quote unquote conferences. We're dropping all these announcements, but a lot of them are coming with demos, which is actually pretty nice. So we down a lot of stuff. There's a few more we want to get to, but I think it's time to break now. When we come back, Crispy should be here, and we're going to talk about Gloomwood, and we have a few other game demos that we tried that we want to talk about, and a few news topics to cover as well. But of course, we'll also answer questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch. So if you're watching us live, don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a moment. All right. Speaking of the clap, I'm just kidding. That's
the best way to come back. Right there.
Let's talk about video games. We have, like I said at the end of the last segment, we're kind of in the middle of like a faux E3 right now.
Yes, we are, Nick.
And there's all kinds of announcements happening, all kinds of events that are going on. But as a result, I guess it started with what the PC showcase they had last week, where they started announcing. Yeah, so we've got
started with Sony.
Yeah, I guess Sony was the first one to release a few, but like we started getting a steady stream of demos, and there's an overwhelming amount of demos out there. I know Brad has been feeling the pressure.
It's not just the demos. It's that ever since the PS4 thing, there's been like half a dozen showcases, that like daily showcases from different like websites, like there's PC Gamer, then there's IGN, and there was like a couple others as well, and they were all doing their own showcases, and often for multiple days. There was that Guerrilla Collective thing, and it was just indie game after indie game after indie game after indie game, and they all looked fucking cool. And then they all announced that, oh hey, also because of this Steam Game Festival, they're all fucking getting demos, and there's over 900 demos on Steam. Demos on Steam, and for a lot of games that look really cool. And it's like, yeah, it's fucking overwhelming. I keep thinking, this year I played Horizon's Gate, and last year I played Fell Sail, and the year before that I played Crosscode. Like it would have been so easy for me to miss any one of those games,
right?
And they were like literally some of my favorite games I've played in recent memory. And so I see all these games, I see all these demos, and I'm like, there could be a million Crosscodes here, and I'll never know. It's overwhelming. I don't want to miss out on potentially great games that are perfect for me. But
speaking of great games that are potentially perfect for you, Brad, let's talk about a demo you didn't play this week.
I didn't play it because you played it, and you were like, oh, play it, Brad. And I'm like, bitch, I made this demo.
Bitch, I don't understand your logic here. I didn't.
No, it was just funny, right? Because you were initially excited because like, oh, from the person who made Dusk, I like Dusk, and I'm like, you're goddamn right, you finally like Dusk, you dickhole.
Yeah, I played Dusk for the first time.
Like Thief. I heard Brad likes Thief. I'm like, you motherfucking right, I do.
Yeah,
it was just which funny. Is why, and then you fucking played, and you're like, "Oh, this is cool. You should probably play this, Brad." I'm like, "Fuck you."
No, Brad. To be honest, when the demo launched, and I was like, "I'm gonna play this," I had assumed you had already played it. You had the date that
the demo released. I don't have a lot of time, Nick.
I know,
I'll get around to it when I can.
You were very active.
Do you have time to tell us the title of the game?
Gloomwood. Gloomwood. We're gonna talk about Gloomwood. It's from the guy, the developers, the creators behind Dusk, which is a game I played very recently.
Not just Dusk, but
I know, not just Dusk, but I kind of infamously was like, I don't like Dusk a couple years ago, and I gave it another try, and then I was like, oh, never mind, I like Dusk. This is pretty cool. So
you gave it another try because we all said you were stupid.
You're right. I did. That definitely actually played a role in my decision to play this game again. But here we are. I decided I've been kind of following the developers on Twitter since I played Dusk, and like been seeing them talk about Gloomwood a lot, not really knowing necessarily what the difference was. Like, part of me kind of assumed this was going to be very similar in style to Dusk. It kind of looks Duskish in terms of like it's
it evokes PC games of the 90s.
Correct. It evokes that kind of game. But what I didn't really know, because I hadn't seen the game in action prior, I just seen screenshots and I knew it was guys who made Dusk. This is like a thief. It's like kind of like a Thief clone, with maybe more emphasis on combat. Like
You
you're
didn't.
weapons.
If you were fighting in old Thief games, you were doing it wrong.
Right. So you're definitely encouraged to use weapons in this. So it's not entirely like Thief, but it evokes the same kind of feeling. Again, I will say I don't have the most history with Thief as a series. In fact, the only Thief I have actually played is
The game that is often $2 on sale.
Yes, the Thief that came out in
and
2014.
overpriced.
Right. I rage quit that game because of a terrible boss fight, and I never went back to it.
People were so like it was because it was right after like Deus Ex came back, which was everyone thought, oh, this is impossible. They can't bring back Deus Ex, and then they did it, and it was good. And then they announced Thief, and they're like, oh, Thief is gonna come back just like Deus Ex, and we're all gonna love it. And then it happened, and people were like, this isn't that good. The dream is dead.
But it's not that I didn't hate that game until I got to that boss fight that was kind of near the end, and it fucked me up. But I do know that game is like the black sheep of the Thief franchise for sure. But I don't have any history playing like the Thief games that made Thief famous or big.
Sure.
So I was kind of shocked when I turned this on and realized this is kind of an open-ended, slower paced, stealth-ish game with some horror elements to it. Because that is certainly not what I was expecting. I was honestly, based on what I know of the developer, I was expecting loud music and fast running, and
Thief is one of the first popular Dishonored. What do we call those? Dishonored Prey.
Sim. Oh God.
Stealth action games.
No, you dummy.
There's a term.
Action.
I don't know why I'm blanking on the term.
Immersive
Sims. Yes, this is one of the first immersive.
I've literally never heard anyone say that.
Immersive sim is like BioShock or Dishonored or
Immersive sim.
Immersive sim. Yes,
Sim.
That is the term. Believe it or not, Crispy.
Don't like it.
Not a big fan of it either, to be honest. But yeah, this is like gothic horror,
First-person sneakies
with stealth, and it's great. Great. But it has that like really distinct look that like Brad said, kind of evokes classic games of this type, or it very reminiscent to me of Dusk, because that's very early, that's most recently on my mind.
Or Thief, but yeah,
sure, or Thief. But and again, I don't know much about how those games played or like what kind of mechanics they had, but like some of the things that I found really interesting in this game was like what the fuck was that? Sorry, my cat is knocking shit over. It's a thief in the night. No, like there's one part very early on in this demo where like you walk into a room, there's a closed door, and you can walk up to it, and you can actually use the same button you would normally use to like peek around a corner, right? To walk up to a door, and you can put your ear up to the door, and you can suddenly hear through the door. So if there's someone on the other side, when you open the door to be ready to attack. And I could be wrong. I think there's a point where you can actually look under the cracks of a door and stuff. So there's a lot of like really interesting uses of the first person perspective to kind of gauge the environment before you make a decision or how to move forward. But yeah, it leaves a really good impression, and the level. At first, I thought this was a roguelike too. Brad had mentioned something about this being a roguelike, and where did you hear that? Because I don't think this is a roguelike.
Articles when this game was first announced, the developer was calling it a roguelike or inspired by roguelikes, and I didn't know much about. I mean, I had not been aware of the game really much prior, but when they showed the trailer and they announced the demo, I started looking into it, and I found some of these old articles, and that's where the roguelikes started floating around. And I don't know, I haven't played this, or the game's not finished. I don't know, you only played through this demo once, but what,
No, I played through it twice. Well, I didn't play all the way through it, but I played it like 1.5 times. And the layout of the world did not change, and the people who were watching me stream it said this is exactly what it was for them as well.
okay, so
Brad, what he actually said it is a rogue light like.
oh, well, that's completely different.
It's a rogue
I don't
light.
even know what that means.
No, but the thing is, that was an old article. I don't know if things changed since then, or who knows what he means. But he means when he says inspired by roguelikes. You know, I saw a tweet from the developer or whatever from again a couple of years ago, and he said something like, "I just played this at midnight and it felt like a roguelike," and I'm like, "What the fuck does that mean?" So maybe he doesn't know what a roguelike is. That would be the real twist.
Maybe they're going off with the assumption that it feels like the character is a rogue.
Yeah, like a rogue.
Perhaps. I mean, I was thinking maybe it has more to do with like item placement being random.
Yeah, that's
but the second time I played it, it seemed pretty samey to me.
I mean, again, I don't fucking know. I don't.
Or
really,
maybe those elements just aren't in the demo, and it's like, I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know much about this at all. So
What I can tell you is that this game is very atmospheric. It's fun to explore. It feels nice to control. Your primary weapon is like what do you call it? Like the cane, where the sword is
the pimp
sheath.
cane.
Yeah, the pimp cane that you can pull like as a sheath sword.
I think they call those cane swords.
Yes.
Cane swords. Thank you.
Wait,
I guess that makes sense.
Did
What?
you just kill him? Like a Tywin Lannister?
Shoot him with a crossbow in the toilet.
Oh,
I mean, basically.
yeah,
that
basically. I mean, he didn't have a crossbow. I didn't have a crossbow, but I did kill him when he was on a toilet or standing in front of a toilet,
Got him.
which was perhaps meant to imply that he was using said toilet. I'm not entirely sure, but I killed him near a toilet, and that's close enough for me.
The fucking cane is sick though.
It's cool. It's
Like
cool, and
the,
you can like
the cane from Bloodborne. Fucking love that thing.
that was one of the weapons I used the most in Bloodborne. And like you can use it to like if you hold the attack button, he like draws it back and does like this lunge attack forward, which is really cool.
you mean you are talking about the worst starting weapon? I got
That's the best starting weapon.
It is.
I use that weapon. I use that weapon all the way to the end of that fucking.
Yeah, I
game.
was like, what are you talking about? That's the only weapon in the game. I don't know what you mean.
I love that cane.
Brad, maybe this would see. This is kind of why I wanted Brad to have played it before the show, because a lot of what I am thinking to talk about is pretty surface level stuff. Ask me a question, Brad, about Gloomwood, if you can. I'm trying to think of what else to tell you about it, because
you like it. I don't know. I mean,
I walked away from it very positive on it, and I think it has a lot to do with the atmosphere, the vibe that it evokes. Also, the fact that it just kind of subverted my expectations of like what kind of game it was completely. Probably had a lot to do with it. But the world, like the level they give you, is very elaborate. And by the time I played it, the demo takes like an hour to complete probably. And by the time I was done, I had kind of like in my head kind of memorized the overall layout. So
when I think of Thief, well, here's a question: is there much like interplay between like light and dark, or like in the shadows or whatever? Like, there's just obviously a stealth element, but are you hiding in the shadows to hide from?
Yes,
that first tooltip said that shadow and dust would.
Yeah, shadow and sound. Like if it wants you to stick to the shadows because there are light sources, and if you stand in light source, it'll make you a lot easier to see.
To like, can you like shoot out light sources or whatever?
See, I didn't even think to try that.
See, a big thing in Thief is like water arrows and stuff like
that's right.
Not just staying in the darkness, but creating darkness to help sneak around and stuff.
Yeah, now I kind of want to replay it because I didn't think to even try that. I think if I had more history with Thief in the series, I probably would have thought to do that.
Like the icon in the bottom right is very Thief.
Sorry, I don't have the footage in front of me. What's the icon?
It shows how
light indicator,
how hidden you are.
Yeah.
How visible.
Also, when you walk on like metal surfaces, you can hold shift to like walk like tiptoe across them because you'll create extra sound if you don't.
Okay. I mean, it looks really great. I mean, one of the things I really like about Thief or any immersive sim really is just like a really like the levels are structured not like this is the path you go. It feels like realistic spaces, and you know all of those spaces you explore every nook and cranny, like, oh, these are rooms and there's closets in those rooms or bathrooms in those rooms, and you really get a really good sense of space and structure, and that's and you're kind of like usually free to kind of explore those spaces, and I feel like that's the kind of thing that this genre does better than any other, really.
And I think that's the case here. I really do. And
secrets
like
and hidden nooks and crannies.
There are definitely secrets hidden in nooks and crannies. There's also like this one level that you play as in the demo. There's like a street level. You can go down into the sewers, and you can even go up into like buildings that are up top. So it feels very like multi-leveled as well, and it's all very seamless. It's cool, and it evokes this very like gothic horror vibe to it, which is really nice.
Bloodborne, thiefy Bloodborne. That's
when
cool.
you go into the sewers, you activate like you go into this like control room. You activate this switch to turn on these lights in this hallway, and when you do that, you see this like weird like creature that looks like a half bird, half human that's kind of like creeping along in the darkness, and like
once you get into a combat. Oh, sorry.
I was just saying it effectively creeped me out. So like I think this is going to be a pretty effective game in terms of like
yeah. I mean there are famously really creepy parts of Thief games, especially the third one's got the famous Shellbridge Manor, I think it's called.
Yeah,
that's like horrifying. And is there water? Are you about to swim?
Yes, you can swim. There is definitely swimming.
Yeah.
Brad's excited.
Fuck yeah, water.
Just full mast.
90s when you
get in that fucking water.
Yeah, dude. What was I gonna say? When you get into combat, can you kind of hold your own? I mean,
that's very combat feels right now feels kind of simple. Like it's very like
as it should be, because you're not really supposed to be getting into combat.
Yeah, it's a lot of just when you get caught in a situation where you need to defend yourself, it's like swing blindly until they die, or like try and kind of like dodge while you're charging up your thrust attack and then thrust. You can you get a shotgun, you get a pistol. And those are both very effective and very satisfying. I think that's
very Dishonored, right? One of the things about Dishonored that makes it unique in the genre is that you fuck up, you get into combat, and you have a lot of tools to deal with the enemies. So
yeah, I can definitely see the influence of Dishonored here too. I also just feel like their last game is Dusk, which is obviously known for its combat, among other things. But like
Thief, yeah. Oh, I wonder what they're gonna do next. Maybe they'll do Tomb Raider.
Oh. You can tell they have a reverence for the genre that Thief occupies, but you could also that their DNA as developers and the kinds of stuff that they like, and you could tell they wanted to infuse that action element into it as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fine.
Cool.
Guns in this game are satisfying.
The only reason I haven't played it is because a lot of me playing all these demos is sort of being curious about things that I'm seeing for the first time, and like, I wonder if this is actually any good. But like when I saw this, I'm like, I know this is good. I don't need to play this now. Let's play some of the other stuff that I actually have more questions about. Does that make sense?
Yep. Because you're right. This is a good game. This is a good game that everybody should try. I wholeheartedly recommend it.
But it's early access, which sucks because that's what Dusk did. But Dusk was a game it was like a 90s shooter, right? And those were all very like episodic, right? So, they were structured in episodes, which was a set of levels. And a lot of the shareware versions, anyways, when you first played those games, you pretty much just like played through an episode, right? So when Dusk was in early access, it was the first episode. When we first launched in early access, you could play the first episode, and then after a while, the second episode became available, and then when it finally came out, the third episode was available. This type of game isn't really that way, so I wonder if it being an early access means you're going to have access to like the first third of the game, and that first third of the game is done. In which case, I don't know. In early access, or if it's still going to be in this state where it's like more unfinished than that. I
know I played this and my first thought was, man, I hope this comes out in 2020, because I feel like 2020 so far has been more often than not, I've been a little disappointed by the games that I've played.
Motherfucker.
More often than not is all I'm saying.
Game that you love more than Half-Life Alyx, which is another game you love. So what are you talking
That
about?
is also not what I said.
You're about to play
Bitch.
Last of Us. You just fucking played.
I know.
No, I don't want to hear it, Nick.
I'm talking about up until this point, Brad. Like,
Have you heard of Horizon's Gate?
no, I haven't. Tell me
You heard
about
of
it.
Monster Train. The back half of this year is probably going to be a little. Stuff's going to get pushed.
Yeah. Oh, something
Yeah.
was pushed today, but we'll talk about that later. Let's move on to there's other demos to talk about. Where do you want to go from here, Brad?
I don't know.
You were the master of demos.
I mean, I played like a fuck ton of demos, right? But it was a lot of like a little bit of stuff here and there. You know, like I played the new Obsidian game, Grounded, which is a survival Honey I Shrunk the Kids game. It was actually pretty cool.
I downloaded that.
Out of I made.
I totally thought I was going to be able to play Of Sound Mind and Grounded before the podcast tonight, but the Of Sound Mind demo is super long.
Not Of Sound Mind.
What is it? What?
It's called. Sorry, it's called
In Sound Mind.
In Sound Mind. It's a weird name, so I forgot. Sorry.
Yeah,
but Crispy, did you end up playing the Grounded demo? Because I know y'all were both talking about it in Discord earlier. No?
No, I did not. I only had time to play one, and I picked Solasta. It's a weird name. I don't like that. Solasta, Crown of the Magister.
Yeah, it's a bad name, but whatever. Let's talk about that.
Okay. What do you want to know?
This is the one I brought up. Very D&D. I thought Crispy might like it.
Okay, so like not only is it very D&D, the game is built on the SRD 5.1, which is okay, so
D&D.
Yeah, it is D&D.
Okay,
it's the mechanical core of D&D. D&D operates under a thing called the open game license, where like people can make supplemental material for their game, and it's all free for them to use, and they put out a big document whenever they release an edition of the game that's called the SRD, and it's like the mechanical core of the game. It's everything. Strip out all the bells and whistles and strip out a lot of the lore, and it's just like everything. It's like races, classes, feats, ability scores, magic, and like movement and combat rules. It's just the base nugget of the game. And Solasta, did I say that right? Solasta. I hate that name.
Salad pasta.
It's just that. It's that put into a isometric dungeon crawler. Like not even really changed in any way. I think they changed the name of a couple spells, and that was it from what I saw.
I'm trying to gauge if you think this is a good thing or a bad thing.
It's amazing. Like,
okay.
It was so cool. Like, I had no idea. I started playing it, and I was like, oh my God. Like, it actually kind of started opening up some, like, new ideas for, like, how I run dungeons in D&D,
Yeah.
So, like, they have little touches that I like are, they have a thing. So, okay, hang on, let me back up a little bit. So you play the game with a party of 4 characters. All right. They have pre-generated characters that you can select from, or you can make your own characters, and you build these characters as if they're 5th edition characters. You select a race and then a class. They even have a screen where you're like rolling dice for ability scores, or you can do the standard array that's laid out in the player's handbook, or you can do the 27 point buy, which is the other variant accepted building method. You select all of that stuff. It lets you pick, your skill proficiencies. It lets you pick languages. It lets you pick equipment, like everything. It is making a character by the player's handbook. It's fucking wild. So like I got into this demo and I saw that they had like, start new game, and then they had character creator under that. So you can just like make characters and add them to the pool of characters that are available to you. And I just went wild. I was like, oh my God. So like I opened up the character creator and just started making all of my current 5th edition D&D characters that I could.
Oh, that's cool.
And I spent like an hour doing that. I spent an hour just like rolling up first level versions of like all of my characters. And then I went to go start the game, and they were like, okay, no, but you have to play with these 4 pre-made characters. And I'm like, no! Because it like starts somewhere in the middle of the story, and you're actually playing with a party of third level characters, so you actually get to like third levels where like a lot of your core features come online, so you actually get to like play the game in a way to see like how the different classes differentiate themselves. If you were playing at first level, it would just kind of be a bunch of weaklings who were
So the demo lets you
getting
create
hurt.
characters, but then doesn't let you use them in the
Yes,
game. In the demo.
it showed you the character creator, like how to do that, and that it is. I mean, it's no different than like opening up a 5th edition character sheet on Roll20 and making a character, or going to D&D Beyond and making a character. It's the same thing. The only thing that was different really were the deities, but the deities are really kind of just flavor because the divine domains connected to those deities are still the divine domains from 5th edition, you know, which are the ones that actually affect what kind of spells that like clerics get, shit like that. So yeah, like it was crazy that like Brad was like, "Oh, you should try this out. It looks kind of D&D-ish." And I go to the Steam page, and the first thing it says is, "This is a game that uses SRD 5.1 rule set." And I was like, I want to buy 10 copies. Like,
You know what
Give me 10, please.
yeah.
drew me to this game when I watched it in a trailer during one of those mini indie showcases over the weekend? It was the verticality of the level design.
It's super. In fact, like the very first, the demo
Is that
a
what Brad
dungeon.
is playing right now in the little
Yeah,
window?
yeah. Yeah. So Brad's in the entrance of the dungeon. This is the very first part of the dungeon. And Brad, if you turn on, like, so there's a little button on your UI that's like,
I'm
be
not actually
careful or something. Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know if you were playing or if this is a trailer or whatever. Shit, I didn't even know that was over there. God damn it. But like so like so you can select which character that you're like, you know, looking at their control panel at any given time, and their control panel has you know, all of their class specific spells and powers and features laid out there, which is just fucking awesome. It does like pop-up menus when you're in combat, when it's like, oh, an enemy is moving close to your guardian style fighter and attacking another teammate. Do you want to use that fighter's reaction to impose disadvantage on the attack, because that's a feature that type of fighter has? And you're like, yes, please. And it's just, oh, it was blowing my mind. I was playing it and just going like, oh god, yes, this is the game I've always wanted. And it's kind of weird because it's the game that I really want Baldur's Gate 3 to be.
My next question was gonna be, well, I guess this is a demo, so we don't even know when this
and
is.
it's still pretty rough. Like I got into a big combat and it just stopped working.
Yeah.
And I just like closed it out and left.
I got the stopped working bug where the whole thing just stopped.
Yeah, it literally like
working.
it finished someone's turn, and then instead of going to the next person's turn, we were just like, I was just staring at the battlefield. I was just staring at a bunch of orcs, like looking at my party, going like, ah. And
we ran out of code.
Yeah. It literally just like stopped being a game and just broke. And I was like, okay. And I've been playing for like an hour and a half at that point. And I was very tired, so I quit.
But it is safe to say, it sounds like you're gonna play.
But it's really cool, and there are some really like I was gonna say earlier, there's some really smart additions and ways to handle
spiders on walls.
Some of the thing, yeah, spiders on walls. Yeah, that's a fight in there. But there's so the problem, quote unquote, with translating D&D as closely as possible into a video game is that D&D is very fluid and very nebulous, and you're kind of just like using whatever style of play or rules fit the moment, you know?
Right.
So it's like when we play D&D, we're not always like in a turn order, you know? When we play D&D, we're not always like necessarily concerned about light if it's not like affecting what's going on in the environment, things like that, right? So finding a way to integrate the full, like basically the full empowerment of having those rules at your back without having to make the game move at such an unbearable pace. Yeah, okay. Like I guess what I'm saying is like they do a thing like they have a button on there that's just called like move carefully, right? And if you click that, your party all starts basically making stealth checks and starts making passive perception checks. But instead of it like in a tabletop game, you would normally roll for all of that. You would be like, oh, I want to move down this corridor, but I want to do it quietly. I don't want anyone to hear me, and I would say, okay, make a stealth roll, and then I would kind of adjudicate how far that gets you. I would say like, okay, well, yeah, you make it to the end of that hallway without anyone seeing you. And there's not really like an easy way to do that in a video game, right? Because
you're looking at it.
There's so many different factors. Yeah. And like, like a stealth roll doesn't always mean like 60 feet of movement, or a stealth roll doesn't always mean that like you're super, like it can mean so many different things just depending on the context of the situation.
It's
right?
hard to code something that doesn't follow a very specific set of guidelines or rules.
Right. It's very open, very nebulous kind of thing. Right. But they have this thing. So like in 5th edition, one of the things they did was they added like passive perception, which is a thing where like you can set a perception score for like a trap in a dungeon. And then that way you're not like asking the players like, okay, make a perception roll to see this trap on the ground. It's just if somebody has a score that's high enough to see the score that you set, then you just say, oh, by the way, and while you're walking down you see a pressure plate on the floor kind of thing. Right.
Yeah.
And they kind of have taken that a step further in this with that mode that I was talking about, where like it makes your characters like they move stealthy. They even like have like little like radar pings coming out of them that's like, okay, they're like actively searching the room for traps and for secret doors and things like that. And it's kind of like a mode that you can just click with a single button that's doing a lot of things that like as a DM I would be processing like 3 or 4 different like adjudications just to like handle that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is fucking mind-blowing, man. It's so cool. The one thing I don't like about the game so far, besides the fact that it doesn't work, is that the camera's a little clunky to use.
Yeah,
it doesn't have as many options for like moving and zooming as like Divinity, right? So you can move with the WASD keys, you can rotate the camera with right click, but you can't even like scroll in and out in combat. It's kind of weird, like when they'll let you zoom in and out. But that's totally something that I think
will be addressed. I'm sure
it's a pre-alpha version of the game right now, so
yeah,
I mean they've got a lot of time.
But
as far as a proof of concept of like we can take the SRD and turn it into the engine of a video game and do it pretty much 1-to-1. Yeah, that worked. It's great. Like it's really cool. I'm super excited to play more of this game.
Sweet. That's exciting.
Turn
Brad,
off the monster train.
Brad, what are you doing?
Huh?
He just got a really good artifact.
Yeah, that is really good. It's actually kind of defining.
This punk ass bitch. Brad, we had a demo to talk about, right? Together?
Yeah. Played
come back on. I don't know. You just corrected me on the title. What are you talking about?
In Sound Mind. It's a bad title. From the developers, from what I understand, the developers of Nightmare House 2, which was kind of 2 things. Kind of a famous PewDiePie fodder game, right? A lot of the horror game YouTubers and stuff played it back in the day. Kind of it was a sequel to to Nightmare House, which was like Chris Davis said, it was like a Source engine. It was like a Half-Life mod or whatever, Half-Life 2 mod. And Nightmare House 2 came out, which included Nightmare House 1, which was kind of like this short little thing with some pretty good jump scares, right? And they turned it into a more full game experience, and a lot of it was pretty famous for having like a really viral demo before the game was actually finished. So it makes sense that this new game, In Sound Mind, from them has a very lengthy demo. And the demo takes about 2 hours, and it has a lot of like cool moments and stuff. But yeah,
it's deceptive too. Like it's deceptive. Like it starts out very like, oh, I know what kind of game this is. And by like about the halfway point through the demo, it's kind of like, oh, they start introducing some really cool twists and mechanics and stuff.
I was kind of rolling my. I mean, I was like, well, I want to play one of these demos that's a little lengthier, so I have something to show and talk about on the podcast. And I knew this one was a couple hours long, so I was like, oh, okay, I'll play this, and people might enjoy watching it or whatever. But by the end of the demo, I was kind of impressed because, it is one of those games. It is like Nightmare House 2, where there's mannequins in this one. There's a moment where you turn around and there's a mannequin behind you. Like all of these games for PewDiePie, like whatever the genre is called.
Yeah. Well,
do you remember when they tried to do that to us at the Resident Evil escape room and it just didn't work at all? Like when we went to go leave that room and there was a mannequin there and we were like, get that out of the way. It just didn't affect us at all.
Doesn't necessarily translate to real life. But when you start the demo, it's like, oh, it just puts you in this room. You have a flashlight. And you're
it has a
around.
battery. You're like, I know what this is.
It's like Outlast. I'm just like,
it's not.
No, but I had really early on.
But it's not.
Well, a couple things. First, the entire time I was playing this, it kind of gave me the vibe of maybe I'm the only one here, but it seemed to me it was making me think of a Stephen King. Like you're following this cat around with these glowing eyes, and you walk into a room and you play this tape on a recorder, and all of a sudden the light coming through the window starts flashing and the room starts shaking, and then when it finishes playing, you walk out the door and all of a sudden you're in this dreamscape, and there's weird shit happening, and it's it early on to me it felt like Stephen King's style of brand of horror, where it's kind of obtuse and strange and subverts expectation, never overtly in your face scary, but just kind of makes you feel uneasy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was pretty cool. But then I started.
It kind of opens up. Oh,
and then it opens up. But there were several points where I was shining my flashlight around, and I thought I saw a person poking their head around a corner. Pull their head back, and it happened 3 times in random spots, and I was like, "Did I just see what I thought I just saw?"
And then that becomes a little more explicit.
It was creepy.
I don't know how far you got in this demo. There's a point when there's a ghost or whatever starts showing up more.
Right. So, well, I got to the point in the demo. So the story conceit seems to be I guess the character you're playing as is a psychiatrist, and there's something about his past or whatever. But you're having these memories and you're entering these dreamscapes that have to do with his patients, I guess. But there's one point where you go into a grocery, this old abandoned grocery store, and there's this ghost flying around, and there's all these body length, full body mirrors kind of placed around here randomly. And I did this completely without the game really stepping in to tell me how to do it. I just had this panic moment. I walked up to a mirror. And I turned around to leave, and the ghost was flying at me, and I freaked out, and I moved to the side, and the ghost went straight into the mirror and saw its reflection in the mirror and exploded.
Yeah.
And then it talks about
the ghost spooked itself.
Well, the ghost it starts to imply you have to lure the ghost. It can't stand looking at its own reflection, so you're wandering around this abandoned grocery store trying to lure it towards these mirrors to make it look at itself, so it freaks. And that's how I guess it's a kind of like a boss. You have to do it 5 times, but you're trying to avoid it while also trying to locate all of these different mirrors and then trying to lure it towards the mirrors. But then after that first mirror, it breaks the mirror when it hits it, and all of these glass shards fall on the ground. So you pick up the glass shards and you can walk around. When you hold the right mouse button, he holds the a shard of glass up, and you can see behind you while you're walking forward. So you can kind of keep your eye on if the ghost is coming up behind you and stuff.
I had no idea you could do that.
Really?
I was just staring at the ground the whole fucking time. Don't look at the ghost. Don't look at the ghost.
No, dude. And when you hold up when you were talking about how you thought it was pretty cool, I was assuming it was because you saw the mirror shit. Because when you look at the mirror in the when you look at it and you're seeing the reflection behind you, you also see all this creepy shit written on the walls that you can only see when you're looking at it through the mirror.
I was looking at that when I was looking at the actual mirrors.
Oh, okay, I guess you're right.
Good to know.
It's just a really cool, and I didn't even finish the demo, so I don't even know what else the game has in store. But it seems
You
pretty,
should, because getting to that last mirror is like a pretty cool little area.
I mean, I'm assuming it saved my place. I want to finish the demo.
So you didn't collect all the little dolls or whatever for the
No.
dollhouse?
No.
Did you start?
No. I don't even know. I don't even know what you're talking about.
You need to play. You should try to finish this. Does it save?
I think it does.
You
Because
should
there's
try
a
to finish
continue
it.
option from the menu.
So one of the things that surprised me is like the way it's structured. It's almost like a little bit of a Metroidvania kind of thing. I mean, you get, well, sort of like at first you can't get through vents, but then you get a gun, you're able to shoot them out. And when you get like this piece of glass, you're able to like cut through barriers you weren't able to get before. And
barriers, police tape.
Well,
Can't walk through this. Got to cut it down.
Well,
I know, it's just funny.
Well, I mean, it made exploration like kind of interesting to me, and there was a couple of secrets that you could unlock later through turning power on and off, and like there was like one soda machine. Because did you collect coins? Did you figure out how to collect?
I was trying
coins?
I couldn't find the. I got to the point where I was.
See, you don't even
registers.
Know. Oh, you were doing the register stuff with the food. Where you have to like get it up to a certain amount, and then the register would open. There's a coin inside.
Oh, see, I didn't do that. I got to that point. That's where I stopped. So.
Yeah, you need to spend more time playing.
I will, bitch.
Yeah, because there's like a soda machine, and well, whatever.
There's a toy machine.
It was a puzzle.
One of the what do you call it? The thing with the where you get the teddy bears with the hand, the claw machine.
Yeah, because there's like upgrades you can find that will boost your stats, and your stats are like health, stamina for like running, your speed, and your stealth stat. And I was like, oh, there's actually stuff you find through exploration actually like boost your stats. That's, you don't expect that from this kind of game, right? Because I was expecting more like a whatever, like Layers of Fear or something. Yeah. A lot of these first-person horror indie games are very simple and
very one-dimensional.
This seems like this could be quite a meaty game, actually, once it finally comes out. Just like a pretty solid survival horror game.
One thing I will say, the demo makes me hope that I'm assuming that a lot of the stuff that was in here was like placeholder graphics. Like,
well, I mean,
like when you pick up notes, everything looks like, like it has like this nice like piece of paper kind of like drawn like you're reading a note, but then it has like typed in like Arial font. It looks like. It just looks like,
dog, dude. I mean, this comes from
I'm assuming.
Look, they're not going to have an Outlast budget, all right. I think what you see is what you get.
It's also a demo. Like,
unlike Outlast, you can do things besides run.
I'm not trying to
thrown on the ground.
I'm not trying to bust their balls here. I'm just saying certain things.
It looks like ass. I get it.
No, I think it's actually a pretty nice looking game for the most part. I'm just saying there were a few things that jumped out at me that like seemed like placeholder stuff, and I'm assuming they are. That's the nature of demos, but more so than most games, I was like, something jumped out at me. I was like, oh, that's probably going to be replaced before the final version because it just looks kind of jarring.
I was surprised that I've gotten a little cynical about these types of games, obviously, and just a little tired of them over the years. I used to play a lot of horror games on the stream, obviously, and honestly, typically I wouldn't go near a game like this, but I did have fond memories of Nightmare House, and I did hear that the demo was quite lengthy, and I was playing it on stream today, and I was like, oh, this is pretty good, but we need to stop, and I need to capture footage. And I was with Malia was watching me, and then I stopped and I captured footage, and we were done capturing footage, and then we were like, let's just keep playing. And then we played, we finished the demo, and I found that very surprising because I just not into this kind of thing usually anymore. So I'll probably check this thing out. Or what it was like, I don't want to keep playing this demo because I know it's long, but it's not, my save's not going to carry over. I'm just going to have to do all this shit again. But I was enjoying it enough to where like that didn't bother me. I played the 2 hours, even though I'm going to have to play that 2 hours again, and that's fine.
I mean, it's supposed to come out in 2021. So by the time that it comes out, you might need a refresher anyways.
Yeah. But it's cool. I recommend it for sure if you're into like survival horror games or just a nice cool demo.
There was a puzzle. You had to put a fuse into a washing machine and turn it on to make the washing machine like jump away from the wall so you can get something behind it.
Yeah, I feel like I've seen that puzzle before. I've definitely played a horror game that or a game that had that puzzle before.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's cool. That's cool.
All right. What other demos we have?
I don't
We
know.
probably need to
Are we
move on
done?
here pretty soon. I mean, I don't know. Did you have any other demos you want to talk about?
I
think
mean, nothing I captured footage for, but I mean, I played quite a bit.
There's always
Here's I actually did capture footage for Say No More. I recommend looking up a trailer. It has a really cool low poly look to it. It reminds me of like someone mentioned Incredible Crisis. It reminds me a lot of Incredible Crisis, or just kind of like a mid 90s like Saturn or PlayStation low poly look. But Say No More, you play as, well, you just watch a fucking trailer. There's not much more to the demo beyond what you see in the trailer, but man, it's got a good look and it's really funny. You play as a passive person who learns to say who's too shy in the workplace, so everyone takes advantage of him or her, and then you get a motivational tape that teaches you the word no, and then you just go around the office telling everyone no, and it's like literally an attack's like knocking them around. Watch the trailer. It's called Say No More. It's pretty funny, and I played the demo, and that was pretty fun. I played this game called Vigil, which was a lot like Salt and Sanctuary, and that demo seems like it goes on longer than I was expecting, and it's a little janky looking, like Salt and Sanctuary is, I guess, but it seemed like it was getting a few of the things right. It's stamina-based combat, basically a side-scrolling Souls-like. That was okay. I played quite a bit of Refactor, but I'm going to wait till a later date to talk more about that. I still have more to play because it's not the demo. I'm playing whatever their beta version is, and I was.
Wait, I've played through the entirety of the beta.
Yeah, which that was what I was playing, but I kind of just want to wait till the game is done, I guess, to talk about it fully on the podcast.
Well, I guess I wasn't playing it for funsies. I was playing it because Bob put out a new version of the beta before this event. This was like maybe a little over a month and a half ago, and I played through it to help find bugs and shit like that. So
I will say that
I've played the first area of Refactor like 15 times.
So we'll talk about Refactor maybe next week on the show.
When it comes out, maybe, actually.
I mean, I'm going to play the demo this weekend too. Full disclosure, we're friends with the people who make this game, but it's genuinely a really cool idea. And I have yet to actually get my hands on Refactor, but I got this weekend. It's available now via the Steam, whatever the Steam demo thing is, and it's going to be available through Monday, I think. So if you've heard us talk about Refactor in the past, and you want to get your hands on it, you have to do it before Monday. Like, I think literally you can download it, and if you haven't played it by Monday, I think it literally gets removed from your Steam library.
I think a lot of these demos as part of this event are like that.
Yeah, I think you're right. So make sure this weekend might be a good time to
just because it's overwhelming. Let me rattle off a few more just the titles of a few more that I thought were kind of interesting. So maybe people can try that. XO1 seemed kind of cool. I mentioned it before, but Grounded seemed kind of cool. That's the Honey I Shrunk the Kids looking one. Gestalt, Steam and Cinder has a nice look to it. Has potential. I recommend checking that out. Fae Tactics. That's one that I've been looking forward to for a while. It's it's a strategy RPG that has a nice look to it. It seemed like it has potential. 30XX. I never played 20XX. But 30XX, it's a roguelike, but it's like Mega Man X inspired, and this new one has like a Zero equivalent. I recommend checking that out.
Oh yeah, I talked about 20XX last year.
Yeah,
Year 4.
Yeah, and others, but we should move on. Pool Stay. Try out Pool Stay. That one it'll surprise you with the depth that might intrigue you or something. Try it. It's called Pool Stay, and you've definitely never played anything like it.
Cool. Well, we'll probably revisit or talk about a few demos next week. I'm planning on playing a few more this weekend as well before a lot of them disappear. So we'll revisit these demos next week. For now, I think we should move on. There's a few news topics we want to cover. Nothing that I think requires too much, in-depth discussion. But hey, they announced a new Pokemon Snap today or yesterday or something. Was that? I don't remember what day it is.
About fucking
yesterday. Wait. Yeah.
No, Chris Davis, it is not about fucking time. It is like a decade too late.
Yeah, I almost feel like
8 years past when it should have been announced.
here's the thing. That's going to be a really exciting announcement for the people who discovered like the young people who discovered Pokemon in the last like 5 years or something, and are still like in the midst of their Pokemon fever. I was cured of Pokemon fever many years ago. I was so like I loved Pokemon Snap back in the day, but it was back when I still remember the names of all the Pokemon, and now I've lost sight of that. So I don't know how to feel about this, but I guess
I think it's awesome.
I
I'm
mean,
gonna
it's
play
Great.
Did they? So I didn't actually watch the Nintendo event when they or the Pokemon event. There was a bunch of Pokemon announcements. Did they say like how many Pokemon? Because when I played, Pokemon, the original Pokemon Snap, that was back in the day.
They only had 150 Pokemon.
Well, they only did have 150, but like I don't even think
They had 151, Nick.
Sorry, 151. Bitch, I had a level 100 Mew. I will fight you.
Battle me.
Correct.
And how many times did you do the missing no trick, Nick, to get rare candies to level up that Mew?
Who didn't have 99 Master Balls? Come on.
I had so many Master Balls. But what I'm trying to say is, even when there was 150 Pokemon, I don't think Pokemon Snap had all 100.
Nick,
no, of course.
Nick, Nick, you know what I'm gonna say to you?
And stupid.
Every person who you think is excited for this Pokemon Snap, this new one, probably doesn't know what missing no is.
Probably not.
Yeah,
but hey,
there's a good chance.
You guys are completely underestimating the staying power of Pokemon with millennials.
Crispy, I'm not saying this game isn't going to sell, and I'm sure there are probably
what I'm saying is like
10 millennials out there who were probably into this game.
Dude.
Like I said, I would still be into Pokemon if they had changed fucking anything over the past 20 years.
Sure, I'm not arguing that at all. I don't know. Okay, that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
I think it does.
It's like, yeah, I don't know, man. It's Pokemon.
I own 5 Switch games. This might be game number 6 for me.
Really? Only 5?
Yeah.
Interesting. I'm kind of curious as to what.
Wait, including like downloaded titles?
Yes.
Wow.
I rarely play my Switch.
Wow.
How strange. How strange.
But
Anyway,
but there's a lot of cool things they could do with this if they do it right.
Sure. I mean, how much did this announcement show of what this game actually is? Like, was it like a 30-second teaser?
The footage they showed looked a lot like the first one, where you're on a track and you're
on
like,
throwing apples and shit.
You're throwing apples and taking pictures.
I was kind of hoping it was more like that Africa game. You know what I mean? Where it's like walking around.
Well,
that's asking too much.
That's not the Nintendo way.
At this point.
See, but that's the point that no one's trying to make. It shouldn't be at Nintendo. That should just kind of be
the problem is the fact that you said that's asking too much is fucking ridiculous. Look at some of the games that are out on the Switch that the Switch has the capability of playing, and then look at the shitty Pokemon games they put out. Yes, are there new Pokemon? Sure. Does it look slightly?
Sword and Shield?
I've read and looked at plenty of things to know that playing Sword and Shield would be a waste of my life.
To be fair, we should probably have. This is a conversation we should probably have with Ed, because Ed played a lot of Pokemon Sword and Shield. And you know what?
Sure.
I played the demo at E3 of Sword and Shield, and it was
Nick, you're basically a Pokemon master.
Basically. Give me the certificate of achievement right now.
I'm just saying they could do cool things with this. I mean, imagine the Switch is a mobile console, okay? So you could theoretically have it function like a fucking camera. You're walking around, moving your Switch, looking around in the environment as you're going along that track, and it functions as a camera.
Now that
Pokemon Go.
Think about this. Like, why did Pokemon Snap just kind of naturally evolve from Pokemon Go?
I mean, how do you know it didn't?
No, but
that's what Pokemon Go was. It's Pokemon Snap, except for instead of taking pictures, you're throwing Pokeballs.
I mean, like using your
conversation,
like actually using your phone to take pictures of Pokemon in the wild, like in the world, right?
Yeah, but
natural.
but in Snap, you're going along a set path. You're interacting. It's not like random shit going on with you going to a fucking Pokestop and then flicking your finger to throw
Correct.
a Pokeball
The
at a
point of
Pokemon.
Snap is the like replayability, because it's the
Yeah.
one. It's the if you like just looking at the original Pokemon Snap, you're on the track. But the thing is, if you're looking to the right, you're going to miss something on the left. If you know, if you fucking throw the Pokeball at like the Slowbro, he'll get knocked off and roll over here, and like the Voltorb will explode and whatever. So I mean, that was the whole point of Pokemon Snap, was it was interactive and timing, and so you couldn't do everything at one playthrough of a track. You had to do it multiple times. You had to catch the Articuno, and if you threw the thing, if you knocked, you had to knock the fucking Charmander through the entire level. You had to knock him back, and he evolves into a Charmeleon, and then you knock him back and whatever, and he falls in the lava, and fucking Charizard explodes out. That was the whole point of Pokemon Snap, was that interactivity and like the stuff. So yes, I do understand this new one, and I'm sure this new one's gonna be fucking fine. My frustrations aren't with Pokemon Snap.
It's funny if you're kind of enjoying Animal Crossing or whatever, but if you had played all the other Animal Crossings, you'd be like, "Why the fuck hasn't this series evolved?" Because it's true.
Well, Animal Crossing is not 20 years old.
I mean, most Nintendo games
Actually,
have
it
the same issue. Look at Zelda. Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild was the first Zelda game where we were like, "Oh my god, they finally did something like crazy out of the box for a Zelda game." So, I don't know. Let's move on.
Nick,
What?
you bring up the point that I didn't want to bring up because I didn't want to get into it. But look at Breath of the Wild, and then look at Pokemon Sword and Shield. Fucking on the same console.
Well, I don't know that we can really
drastically
do that, 'cause I don't
different.
think anyone here has played Sword and Shield.
I don't have to play it.
Okay.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Pokemon is a hotbed topic, apparently. Did anything of interest happen at this EA Play event today? That's what I want.
Good question.
Gameplay reveal of
Dragon
the
Age
Star
4.
Wars game.
No.
Wait, sorry. You both spoke at the same time, and it canceled. Both of you got canceled out.
We found out about nothing. No Dragon Age, so I sort of stopped caring. But there was they did announce a new Skate game, whatever that means. They're gonna make another Skate game, apparently, which people care about. Skate fans.
Now is the time to jump on the. People are excited for that Tony Hawk.
They showed a couple of indie games that people thought, or one looked pretty cool. It was called what's that one called? The Random Little Random. There's an indie game that looks pretty hot. It kind of
World of Random or something like that. Yeah.
Lost in Random, which Random is a location. I recommend looking up the trailer. Looks kind of Tim Burton-y. Looks a little Psycho-Nazi. Psycho-Nazi.
Jesus.
Oh, no.
Psycho-Nazi.
That was an unfortunate turn of events.
Psycho-Nazi.
Nazi-ish?
Psycho-Nazi. It looks nice. Also, Joseph Ferris announced his new game, but just really, he kind of talked about it. They didn't really show a full trailer or anything. Joseph Ferris, you might know him as the Fuck the Oscars guy, creator of Brothers and A Way Out. Brothers was really good.
Guess what they're developing? It's a 2-player co-op game.
Yes.
Imagine that.
And this one, you actually beat your co-op partner to death with your PS5 controller.
Did they show? So
you break out.
I also have on the dock here the Star Wars Squadrons announcement.
Yeah,
I've only seen the trailer that they released the other day. What did they show at the event
Nick
today?
didn't hear. There was a nugget of info that Nick would really appreciate.
Don't you do it?
It has zombies. What do you mean? Shut up, listen.
I'm waiting for your Dead Space 4 joke.
It's not just shut up and listen, you dummy. It's single player campaign can be played fully in VR. Why are you waiting for a joke? Listen to what I'm saying.
I am. I'm waiting for you to tell me something of consequence.
It's a Star Wars consequence there.
VR.
Yeah, I mean that sounds fucking dope.
It's a space dog fighting game, but it has VR support.
Okay, so it's a space dog fighting game that's single.
Oh, you don't even know what it is?
No. I didn't see the event today.
You saw the trailer the other day.
The trailer was from days ago.
Wait, are we talking about Star Wars Squadrons?
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about some random game that got announced. I didn't know you were saying Squadrons is playable in VR?
Entire
You never
whole
mentioned
game.
Squadrons.
The whole game.
multiplayer.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'm excited. Did it look like did they show gameplay today?
Yeah,
Huh?
they showed
Yeah,
a
bit,
gameplay
sort of.
trailer,
One of them.
and it looked like there were like a bunch of snippets of gameplay. But what was there? It looked pretty good. It seems like they are definitely drawing comparisons to the classic X-wing and TIE Fighter sim series, because there's a focus on power management and craft movement. Like you can
Wait,
refocus your shields front or back. You can refocus energy towards your engines or your lasers for them
So
recharge.
you're like, it's a cockpit seating where you can see like the panel, the
Yes.
control panel.
It's a full cockpit
That's neat.
with at least 8 craft. Evidently
I don't
the
think
single
it's
player.
at least. I think it is 8 craft.
I mean, yeah, they
It's
might
4
do.
types of vehicles for both factions.
Yeah, but it's EA. You know they'll do DLC to add more.
But
Thank God.
I think it's cool. I think it's a cool idea. But I'm also just kind of it's EA Star. Like I don't feel like they've really handled Star Wars generally very well. I don't know.
In EA Motive, they're the ones who did the Battlefront 2 campaign.
Yeah.
So,
But that being said,
very
the
well
best part of the Battlefront 2 campaign were those sequences where you were in a fighter.
but it
You're
was
flying
bad.
around.
That campaign's not good. I heard.
I mean, I played through it. I'm telling you, they're building a game primarily based off the best parts of that campaign.
Here's my question:
Handful of different types of flying games in the Star Wars universe. You're saying I know it has power diversion and whatever, and that makes people think of X-wing and TIE Fighter, right? But this could also still feel kind of like a what's the stupid series called? The Factor 5 series, the Rogue Squadron. Yeah. And the name kind of evokes that. If this is like a Rogue Squadron game, that's not as exciting as if it's like a TIE Fighter game or X-wing.
No, it doesn't seem like that. Rogue Squadron is very arcadey. This seems not nearly that much.
Right?
I'm sorry?
I mean, if you think of, the studio and their campaign that they just did, it was more, well, whatever. Who knows? We'll see. It comes out in October, which is like surprisingly soon.
It is kind of a strange way to announce it. Well, Crispy, are you excited for it?
Yeah. Obviously. I don't know. This is like, I don't know. You guys are being super looking for cracks here, and I don't know. I'm just excited to fly an X-wing.
The multiplayer they're talking about sounds pretty fun.
It sounds awesome. It sounds great. And like a new campaign, cool. And the fact that it's like you guys talked about how fucking dope the last Ace Combat was in VR, and it's like cool, but I don't like real world jets. Those are lame.
Well, I will say,
X-wings and TIE fighters? Are you kidding me?
the VR was cool in Ace Combat except it was relegated to a side like mode. So the fact that you can play the VR throughout the campaign entirely, which is what you said, right? Like that's like that sounds awesome. And I watched the teaser trailer, the cinematic trailer. Well, they said it was running an engine, I guess. But that gave me like chills a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like everyone's done with Star Wars. I get it. It's not cool to like Star Wars anymore. I saw those movies too. It's fine, but like, well, yeah, no, it's just not cool to like Star Wars. It's not like being a bigot. Like,
I mean, for me, it's the EA thing. Like, I just feel like they've mishandled the franchise at every turn.
I'm
so
like
far.
crazy excited.
I hope it's good, but man, like I had such high hopes I was so excited for, and I'm honestly probably in the minority here. I was just so excited for Jedi Fallen Order, and I just walked away from that so completely.
You got Onimusha Dawn of Dreams.
No, I mean, because I hate Onimusha Dawn of Dreams. I was just indifferent after playing Jedi Fallen Order. But maybe that. But they at least set up a interesting universe. Maybe they'll just do more with it the next time around. I don't know.
Damn.
We'll see. That's neither here nor there. Again, like I said, probably in the minority. I don't think my hesitation really has anything to do with Star Wars. It's more of just I don't trust EA because
the whole level of like customizability that they were talking about, where you can like switch out components to make your ships perform differently and like give them different equipment and attacks and stuff like that, sounds super dope. Some of the like maneuvering they were showing in the trailer was awesome because it looked fucking like Star Wars. It looked awesome, and it didn't, it wasn't doing that thing where they're just like pretending that like X-Wings and TIE fighters are jets, like they were actually moving in ways that are like
unique.
that belie the fact that they're ships moving in space without like air resistance and shit. Like it's really cool.
Yeah, like there was a moment where he cuts his engines and he whips the craft around while it's still going forward, and then shoots at a fighter that's tailing him, and then he whips it back around and just charges off.
Yeah, that's fucking dope.
Yeah, it did look cool. I mean,
especially the TIE fighters, they're like pinning on it. Like
I will likely play.
I'm interested.
I think the only problem that people may have with the game is the fact that this is designed for like full cockpit play. So like the way the cockpit is arranged and everything, it's movie authentic. So like if there's no third person perspective, or there's no like way to remove the cockpit, just have a HUD like in Ace Combat, I think people might take issue with that.
Look, people are down on EA. People are down on the way they've handled Star Wars. People are honestly just a little down on Star Wars right now. It's not surprising that some people are going into this a little skeptical. If it's great, then that's exciting. But we don't know.
Hey, it's it's like you said, it's coming out soon. We won't have to wait long to play it. So I certainly want to play it, especially now that I know it's in VR. That's definitely something. It's coming out on PC too, I would imagine, right?
Yeah.
So,
and it's going to have HOTAS support, surprisingly. I did not expect that.
Maybe this is more like a sim, huh? HOTAS support? That's cool.
What is HOTA?
Hands-on throttle joystick.
Oh, see, that's way too. That's above my. It's above my level. I don't know anything about that. Let's move on. Nolan. Wait, actually, sorry. Before we do that, Nolan, you should get ready for the questions.
I'm already ready.
Okay.
Are we done with the EA thing?
Well, yeah, we're not. Well, unless was there
do we
more
want
to
to
the EA
mention
thing?
the Cyberpunk thing real quick?
That's what I was going to mention. It was a Cyberpunk delay.
Skate 4.
Dragon Age 2 did not get mentioned at all.
You mean Dragon Age 4?
From September to October or November?
November.
Wait.
November 19th.
November.
Sorry, I think we're talking about two different things right here. Are we done with EA?
Yes.
Cyberpunk was moved to November 19th.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not really much else we can say about that. It's still coming out this year, according to CD Projekt Red. They
put out a statement that was like, "Hey, we don't think it's going to be ready. We want it to be good, so we're going to delay it until it's good."
Okay,
it's also it's a good thing for consumers too. Like, if this game had come out like in September, like it was supposed to, and then 2 months later we got brand new consoles, like people would have to choose.
Brad,
I would buy the old version or the new version.
I would not be surprised if COVID had something to do with this.
Sure.
Obviously, things are affecting their, the speed at which they can develop and put it out. They were probably in like, that last minute crunch trying to get everything done. And all of a sudden things got slowed down.
Everybody's working from home.
This was also a game that had already gotten delayed. The cynic in me, which I guess it's not really, is that maybe it was pushed to be a launch title for the PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is going to be huge because it'll be the game that everybody picks up, and critics will.
But Brad, why would they do that when potentially you launch it earlier and people end up double dipping?
But
so here's the thing.
Maybe because people don't double dip in those kind of numbers.
That game has to run on a PS4, and Witcher 3 on consoles kind of ran like shit, especially at launch. Before.
Wait, are you saying you don't think they're gonna release it on PS4?
No, they are. But what I'm saying,
then what does it matter?
Listen to what I'm saying. critics aren't going to play it on shitty hardware if they can play it on the new hardware, which means reviews aren't going to be talking about fucking performance issues because no critic on the planet is going to play it on a PS4. You know?
So earlier this evening, CD Projekt Red had a sales call, and they answer what we're talking about here. So they said the reason for the delay wasn't COVID. It was just they're in that much of a focus on crunch and finishing it. Game will run on PS4, PS5, Xbox, and Series X from day one. Here's the interesting thing. They're planning on a robust next-gen update for early 2021 that's going to be free for those who own the last-gen version.
Yeah, that's the thing. You can't double dip, right? The game, you just put it into the new systems. And
they also made
I don't know
mention-
exactly how that process works, Brad.
Unless, of course,
if you put a PS4, if you put Cyberpunk 2077 PS4 disc into the PS5, are you just playing the PS5 version of the game?
No, you're playing the PS4 version, but there will be an update released in 2021 that'll upscale everything and improve the experience for PS5.
You're also playing.
I mean,
you still in theory could double dip.
I think
different games then.
But I think you'll benefit. You would benefit from the faster processing power of the PS5. I think loading times would would look the same, but the loading times would be considerably shorter.
Aren't necessarily going to be better, but I mean, look at it's just going to be naturally boosted to not have the same performance issues.
I mean, it's still coming out November 19th. We don't even know the launch date for these consoles. They've said November. It could even be December. So who knows?
They also said that there are going to be a number of expansions to the game that will be announced soon when they start their marketing campaign, and that the multiplayer portion of the game was delayed proportionately to the release of the game. So, however, if it was like a 6-month push, then it's pushed 6 months as well.
We're talking about Cyberpunk?
Yeah.
It was pushed 2 months.
Multiplayer.
Multiplayer seems I don't even have they even said what the multiplayer component of that game even is?
No.
Interesting.
I assume it's a first-person shooter.
God, I hope it's a card game.
There we go.
It'll be a hacking game.
Cyber Gwent or something. Anyways, let's move on.
Why
Nolan,
would
are you
people in the Cyberpunk universe just like play Gwent? Like,
I mean,
they totally would, right?
What if Siri comes through a portal and teaches someone Gwent and then leaves? Like drops her deck and like, hey, this is for you.
Do we know that Siri knows how to play Gwent? Is she like good at Gwent?
If Gwent is in that game, it'll be a huge disappointment. They have to have like a cool new Gwent replacement. Like
Gwent 2.0.
No. They need to have some cool futuristic game that is even better than Gwent.
Well, of course they're gonna have that, right?
I
mean, but why though is my question. Like, why? Because they're gonna have that. Just like they did with Gwent, they'd probably spin it off into its own product. So why would they have a separate card game to compete with their own product they already have?
Well, dude,
what? No, why are they making Last of Us 2? That's competing with their other product. I mean, they're going to release another game. Of course they are.
Dude, that's not what I'm saying.
This is not The Witcher 4. Like they're not like
if
this is a totally separate universe.
I mean, Gwent is still an active like live service game, So I think a mini game in a single player game probably wouldn't.
Hey, it's going to be a big game.
In that regard, when did Gwent come out?
Competition.
Gwent, the standalone game. How many years after The Witcher 3? Like 4 years after The Witcher 3?
Something like that.
No.
So that's 3 or 4 years.
2018?
Sometimes I forget how old The Witcher 3 is. So I don't even know.
Old, man.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So, like, if they release some mini game in Cyberpunk 2077, first off, people have to like it. If everyone thinks it's shit, they're not going to make a standalone version. But if everyone likes it, like everyone liked Gwent, I could easily see them doing whatever standalone version of this, 3-4 years from now, when maybe Gwent's numbers have started going down.
They're going to make some, like, arena car combat, like, game, or you know
That's
what I
not
mean?
a bad idea.
Dude.
I hope so.
Like that
Brad's
feels
eyes just lit up.
cyberpunky, right?
What if Cyberpunk sucks? What if it fucking sucks?
Well, I mean, I think we can go ahead and temper our expectations of like combat feel of the game now. Like, go ahead and do yourself a favor and do that.
I'm not worried about
But
combat.
I don't know that the
Shit.
game's gonna suck.
Hey,
altogether.
I remember the first time I saw Cyberpunk 27, and I remember watching a dude shoot a
27.
guy with a curving bullet around a corner, and I was like,
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but
I'm into that.
but did the guy then go, "This feels great"? Like while he was
No, he
doing
didn't say anything because
it?
he's pretty quiet when he did that. But you know what? The audience was like, "Ooh, ah,"
Ooh,
and I was one of them.
the bullet go curve.
They basically
Exactly.
they stole Wanted.
They did, and they made something good. I don't know. Let's move on.
It's a
Nolan,
little mean.
are you ready? That movie's terrible.
What
Let's-
to Wanted? Okay.
No, the game was mediocre at best, but that was.
Oh
a
wait, you're
little
talking about the
mean.
game?
Oh,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the entire media franchise going back to the comic book.
I couldn't tell you anything about that. So
Lame as fuck.
There are better games with curving bullets.
Yeah, hopefully Cyberpunk 27 is among them. Nolan,
27.
you have some questions from our supporters on Patreon and Twitch?
I do.
All right. Hit us.
First question this week from Osama bin Affleck.
Haha.
Would you rather
Oh no, I saw this.
Oh no.
always sweat warm mayonnaise for the rest of your life, or only be allowed to eat warm mayonnaise for the rest of your life?
Oh my god.
Oh,
sweat.
no. Those
God.
both sound awful.
Yeah,
Like-
first of all, I don't know how sweating mayonnaise is supposed to like not keep you from dying.
Okay, you're already thinking about it too hard because the assumption here is that it
Don't
won't kill
sweat.
us. All you're
No, but like I think it would be a bonus if it did, right?
I mean, yeah, I feel like you probably want to die at that point.
I feel like
I
So-
mean,
so
like,
I mean,
here's
just imagine, you go out for a quick walk with your dog, and just imagine like just a little bit of sweat that's on your lower back and under your arms. But now
that's
just
like
imagine
already-
it's
You'd always have
mayonnaise.
mayo balls.
it's already pretty greasy.
You'd always have mayo balls.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. I'll just like never go out in public again and take 9 showers a day. But I'm not
Yeah, so-
eating
so that's the
warm
thing.
mayonnaise for the rest of my life.
If you have the
I'll
sweaty
eat a
mayonnaise,
bullet
you can
before I eat
shower.
warm mayonnaise.
You could
Yeah.
just get a piece of bread and wipe it on.
Well, no, that's what I was gonna say. Is you can start
Oh.
collecting that mayonnaise, you chill it, and then you sell it as or at the
Hey,
farmer's market.
Nolan, I want you to think about this. If
Okay.
you went to Bernadette and was like, "Hey, I rubbed some bread across my sweaty arms
Mayo
and
balls.
put it in the fridge for you for lunch later. Enjoy." What would her response
Oh
be?
yeah, because Bernadette eats a lot of mayo bread now.
Nobody does.
Well, so that's
Tell you
the
what,
thing.
though,
is
the worst
you
thing
don't
about
tell them
this-
it's from your body.
The
Oh,
worst
that's my
thing about
favorite
this will be
lunch:
your,
mayo bread.
yeah. No. The worst thing about it would be the marketing campaign you do for selling this, because it would
Selling
have
it?
to be called mayonnaise.
You don't tell someone it's from your body because then they wouldn't want to buy it.
Oh my god.
I mean, the FDA has to know.
Not if
As
you're
some-
selling it at a farmer's market.
Okay, guys, as someone who
FDA doesn't regulate farmers market goods.
Wouldn't this fall under like whatever regulations regulate the sale of human breast milk?
Probably.
probably
But this is not human breast milk.
Like
This
I don't
is
know if I
human
want to eat something
mayonnaise.
some other human made with their disgusting body.
this is the human.
What if it is the
Human
best
mayonnaise?
mayonnaise you've ever had in your entire
I don't
life?
like mayonnaise, so this is already
Mayonnaise
hell.
sucks.
Like,
guys,
Can I
as somebody
choose Miracle Whip.
as,
it
so-
is
as,
Oh,
it is the
God.
worst of the aiolis. Let's just be clear about that.
as somebody who suffers from trypophobia, I'm thinking about when you first start to sweat and it starts to bead, because you'll be able to actively see it because it'll be white.
Oh, what
So,
if all
like-
your pores have to get bigger to accommodate the sludge mayonnaise
Oh.
that they're pushing through?
Or what if
Move on
every
to the
time you sweat, it just looks like a whitehead that's being popped, and it's just like a little like squirting out.
It's like the pimple
Could you
popper.
squeeze your arm and just let me just milk some mayonnaise out
Just
real
a
quick?
little squirt.
Yeah.
Well, that's about the grossest conversation I think we've ever had.
All right, so I think most people are
Yeah.
going with you have to eat warm mayonnaise.
No.
Yeah.
I would still sweat it. I would never eat warm mayonnaise.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna sweat it. I'm not gonna eat warm mayonnaise. You can.
Although I feel like
Alright.
you would be doomed to be like single for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I'd have a hard time.
Have some nice steamy.
Look, I
mayonnaise.
feel like I'm prepared to handle any challenge that comes with sweating mayonnaise. Okay, I'm not prepared to
Including
eat warm
dating?
mayonnaise.
Oh yeah,
That's
including
America. Like think about
like
how
Brad's-
like it'd be like a prank just to like just to
Show
go
them
into like a
someone.
sauna and freak everybody else out.
Yeah,
Just take off all your clothes and just
yeah, your existence would be a joke.
turn
Yes.
into a
like
mayo.
Brad said, like what about this now mayonnaise sex? Where like you're just like mayonnaise all on your sheets and on your partner,
Wow.
and then all of a sudden your dog comes into the bed and starts licking you because you're sweating mayonnaise. And
I just want to point this out. Bernadette did pop into chat to say I would still love Mayo sweating Nolan. So Nolan,
thank you.
you've got a good one. You're good to go. So if that
I think less of
horrible condition
Bernadette
ever
now.
finds its way,
She
Wait, what'd you
thinks that, but then she's gonna live with him for a week and just want.
It's like, damn, girl, have some standards.
Well, you know what, Brad? Bernadette doesn't think about you at all.
Damn.
damn, this is the same
All
guy.
right.
By
I
the way.
sweat mustard.
Fuck you.
It's so much more.
Fuck
It
you.
burns.
It's spicy mustard.
All right, let's move on.
It's the same guy who asked us the hair for teeth question, by the way.
Yep.
Oh, Solomon
Next
Affleck
question from-
really is a terrorist.
He's got some good ones. I want to hear some more of these questions on future shows.
All right, next question from Mr. Green Toast from Texas. If you could turn any movie into a porno with the exact same cast, what film would it be and why?
Ooh,
With
shit.
the exact same cast.
Oh man, I'm trying.
This is like a personal question.
Like two personal answers? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Like
man.
Brad's just saying he doesn't want your answer to be Jurassic
I'm
Park, Nick.
I'm trying to think of like all the different,
Wait, say the question again. I want to make sure I'm crystal clear here.
If you
I
could
mean, I'm-
turn any movie into a porno with the exact same cast, what film would it be and why?
I'm trying to think of like the best ensemble cast that had the
Grumpy
most-
old men.
So Crispy, I was thinking for some reason the first thought I went to was The Fugitive. And it's the scene where Tommy Lee Jones
I don't
has
care.
Dr. Richard Kimball at the end of the
I
thing.
didn't
And he's
kill
like,
my wife.
and he's like, I don't care. And then they just start making out and like
Fucking
fucking. And this,
No,
like,
what about The Aviator when what's his name? Leonardo DiCaprio's like in the full throes of his OCD obsession. They're just like showing the montage of him in that like private theater, like peeing in bottles. He's like, come in with the milk, come in with the milk, come in with the milk. Like, that, but a porno.
yeah.
He's screaming, I didn't kill my wife, just like
I didn't kill my wife. I don't care.
oh my god. Does anybody have a real answer? Because I'm sitting here trying to think of like
That was
I'm
a
trying to
real
think of a
answer.
safe
Yeah,
answer, and
how
I can't
dare
think
you?
of one.
I mean, I'm trying to think of like actual ladies. I'm thinking like
That's so tacky, Nick.
Yeah, so how gauche.
I mean, it's a tacky question. Let's be fair. It's a tacky question. The least we can do is give a tacky answer.
What about Titanic? But Leo like just fucks the Titanic.
The whole boat.
He's like
That's
he's like,
unexpected.
yeah, he's like that guy that's like into fucking his car or whatever. Because that's
Yeah,
like a
but-
real thing.
but,
But,
like,
in this
where?
case, he really just wants to fuck the biggest boat in the world.
I can't
And that's
think
why it hits the iceberg.
Like from what?
What?
Like, yeah, like they like messes up the rudder or something.
Ah,
I don't know.
I was trying to think of films.
You come up with an
primarily
answer,
female
Crispy.
cast.
with an all-female cast.
Primarily
Ocean's
female-
8.
females
Hey.
that are interesting. to me.
I feel like I just learned a lot about Brad's porn
Charlie's Angels.
Full throttle.
Yeah. I was
Uh,
thinking about like
Garfield.
I was thinking about
no.
thinking about like Scream 2 because it has Nev Campbell and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and they were like my big crushes when I was younger.
Sarah Michelle Gellar.
Sorry,
Mad Max Fury
sorry.
Road would be weird.
I just told a white lie because I said when I was younger. There's, it's still true.
What about I know what you did last summer, but it's I know who you did last summer.
Well, I'm sure that already exists.
Yeah,
but like,
probably.
it's the cast. The casting is what's important.
But if it existed with Jennifer Love Hewitt and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I'm trying to think of who else was in that movie. I mean, I'm trying to think of a movie that.
Lord of the Rings, and it's just as long as all 3 director's cut movies.
Oh my god! I feel like I'm gonna think of a really good answer as soon as we end the show. I'm gonna go look at my shelf and be like, that's a good one. I'm just gonna be like for the rest of the night. I'm just gonna be tweeting just the titles of movies. Anybody who watched the name of anybody who watched
the Bourne Identity.
Ooh, Hellraiser.
Anybody who watched the show will just know what I'm talking about. We'll see a name of the movie and be like, ooh, that's a good one.
Weekend at Bernie's.
Ooh, that's
Ooh, that's not legal.
That's not legal at all.
That's a dead guy.
But I bet it's not as illegal as you think it is.
In certain states, it probably is not.
Oh my god! All right, next question.
That just makes me think of that zombie movie Nick and I watched or started watching.
Started watching.
Ooh, A League of Their Own would be like a really good harem porno.
I think my favorite part of when Nolan and I watched that movie together is we
what movie? I didn't hear what you said.
Dead Girl. But we watched it with it was Nolan and Bernadette.
Oh yeah.
It was me.
I've seen that.
It was me, Ami, Nolan, and Bernadette, and the girls fell asleep, and it just ended up Nolan and I in a room together watching a movie about these guys having their way with a dead zombie. And I was
one of the few movies I've ever stopped watching in my life because we stopped to that movie.
I feel like it's bearing the lead a bit to call that movie a zombie movie.
Yeah, you're right, because that's definitely not what sticks in your head.
Also,
No.
isn't Noah Segan in that movie?
Who?
I don't remember any
the
of
dude
the
who's in all of Ryan
faces
Johnson's
from that movie.
Oh
movies.
yes,
he was the one of the cops in Knives Out.
I'm pretty sure
That's like the only non Ryan Johnson movie I've ever seen.
Kill Bill would be a pretty good porno.
Kill Bill.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted.
Yeah, Bill and Ted would be a really good porno.
There should be a movie called Bill and Ted Make a Porno.
Dude, you know what? I think the assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford would be like a really like highbrow artsy gay porno.
There we go. You're probably right. Is that the one? Is Brad Pitt in that movie, or what am I thinking of?
He's the titular Jesse James.
All right, cool. I was thinking of the correct movie then. All right.
Yes,
All right.
that movie's incredible.
Moving on. Next question from Jay.
Jay.
With limited quantities and massive bot price scalping now, how bad do you think the scalping will be for the PlayStation 5?
Oh,
Pretty bad.
4 digits.
Pretty bad.
dude.
So I think it depends. I think it depends on how well Sony is prepped for this. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously,
It all comes down to production. Like if they can, it comes down to production. If they find a way to be able to meet the demand, but that never fucking happens.
They're not going to meet demand.
Well, I mean, look at fucking Nintendo Switches right now. Like they are so hard to find. Like it's
Which is
pretty
why I'm
ridiculous.
surprised that Sony is keep saying they're still on track. They're still on track. They're not affected by COVID. I'm like,
Dude.
aren't you affected by COVID? You're just maybe not wanting to admit it. Like I'm worried that they're going to release these consoles, and because of the virus, like it's just going to be impossible. It's going to be like the fucking Wii all over again.
Yeah,
But like
Are they
worse.
only manufacturing
Going into flu
it?
season? Are you kidding me? It's going to be worse.
It's gonna be crazy. Like Japan Post shut down all international shipments like in and out of the country for a while. I guess they're back now. But
If this thing costs $700, like it doesn't matter because they're not going to be able to like sell that many. They might do a thing where they drop the price next year, when they start selling more.
you're gonna be seeing a lot of them on fucking Craigslist and Facebook.
Yeah, they'll be going for like $2,000, $3,000. It's going to be insane.
It's gonna suck.
Oh
right.
man. Stressful.
We'll do one more question tonight because we've been going for a while. From Lemur Dragon. Do you personally prefer the more RPG style Souls games like Dark Souls and Demon Souls, or the more recent action oriented games like Sekiro and Bloodborne?
Mm,
Action.
RPG, please.
Why not both?
I don't
I
know.
mean,
It's
I
called
feel
Dark
like
Souls.
I still take issue with Bloodborne not being considered an RPG. It may not be as RPG as Dark Souls. That is absolutely true, but I mean, come on.
I think that's the game that kind of walks the line between them the best. But at the same time, I mean, I really think it just kind of comes to like, obviously Brad is, a big numbers guy. I'm the opposite. I kind of like,
It's
I
not just
retract.
numbers. You know,
I
you get in Dark Souls 4 ring slots, and there's a lot of cool, crazy, unique rings in those
I
games.
know, but like anything that forces me to spend exorbitant amount of time in menus, I'm just kind of like,
Whatever, dude.
But
I always get mad when
What?
games limit you to like you can have 2 rings. I got 10 fucking fingers, bitch. Why can I only have 2 rings?
I mean,
Oh,
some
you know
games
why
you
though?
you know rings close together.
Why?
They clank.
Because that's a D&D thing.
Really?
That's specifically why Miyazaki did it. I'll bet you $100 right now.
Okay,
But yeah,
well,
that's a
I don't
D&D
think
thing.
we'll be able to
But,
confirm that.
Well, I mean, it's well documented that he's a huge fan of D&D. They talk about it a lot. But yeah, the 2 rings thing was restrictive. 4 rings is great.
also for like
To
balance.
answer the question,
Imagine if you could imagine how much how overpowered you could end up being if you could just load up your hand with all kinds of perks and shit. I don't know.
Sounds
Feels
good to me.
I bet there's a game that's done that. Should be RPG based on rings.
but yeah, that would be fucking dope. Like Rings of Power, that'd be so cool. But yeah, I think if I had to choose, I would definitely choose like the Dark Souls, Demon Souls approach.
Yeah, that's where I lean.
I think the thing is like I'm leaning towards that. For me, it's kind of hard.
playable.
separate.
You know? Build.
For me, it's difficult to separate like how I feel about the RPG mechanics versus how I feel about those worlds.
Sure.
That's
I
not.
feel like I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, I think Yarnum is like
Yeah.
the fucking dopest.
Yeah, give me a Bloodborne RPG any day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I
You know
will
what?
say this though, when it comes to like the extra customizability of RPGs, if fucking Elden Ring or whatever comes out as a full-blown Souls-like action RPG kind of thing where you're managing inventory and equipment and weapons and things like that, like I really, really hope they have some answer to like customizing your appearance,
Hope so.
like I mean that's kind of cool in Dark Souls where you can like level up and refine armor so you can keep it with you as you progress through the game, but even then there's still some that like it's just not optimal to do it with, but you might like the look of it, and it's just I'm done with RPGs that don't let me look cool,
I agree with that. Yeah,
Well, good-
having
good
the
flag,
ability to make your character look
14.
good and be well balanced and
I mean-
designed as how you want to play.
Wait, what was that
is better
shitty thing
than
you just said,
forcing it to
Brad?
look one way.
Say it
What?
to my face. What'd you say?
I said, good thing you're playing Final Fantasy 14,
Uh,
where all the player models look like they come from PlayStation Home.
yeah, what the fuck is your problem, dude?
But I will agree with Chris
That's not
Davis
even
that
true. Nobody
I wish
knows
more
what-
games. I wish more games had fashion gear.
Yeah, but sometimes fashion gear has to be done right. Like I feel like in Neo has fashion gear, right?
Now that we've set the bar, he has to argue against it.
Neo has fashion
thing,
gear, but it's like it's too easy to look exactly how you want. So like
I don't get you, Brad. Why can't you just be like, yeah, that's true.
because I mean I feel like fashion, you should have to work to get a piece of fashion gear.
Sure.
If it's too easy or if it's too free, it's like, oh, I'm just gonna feel like looking like a ninja today.
You
And I
should
just spend like
be able to switch it to anything that you've ever collected, though.
in Neo, yeah. But it's like I said, it should be harder to get the fashion gear. Like in
Xenoblade Chronicles X.
well, I was thinking of like Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter finally reintroduced fashion gear into Monster Hunter World, and they've had it before, but you have to like work to get it. You have to specifically get the monster drops from the guiding lands, and those material drops are the ones you use to spend on getting.
So you're saying like you have a particular set of gear, and you can't use it as fashion gear unless you meet some requirement.
Exactly.
I'm fine with that. That's but still, like, just more games just don't let me do anything. It's like, oh, well, you put this on, that's what you look like. Well, it's like, well, I like the abilities from this one better, but I don't really like how it looks.
Yeah,
that's kind of bullshit to me.
Sekiro had the potential to be like one of the best From Software games, but like the fact that you always like you have no control over the way that character looks. You look the exact same at the end of that game as you did when you started it, and something about that is just.
And you only have one weapon.
You only have. I mean, I kind of get why the weapon thing had to be done. I mean, they found plenty of other ways to vary the combat and make it unique and diverse, but like,
you're gonna parry.
You couldn't change the way you looked physically on the outside was. You know,
I mean, what I would say to that, Nick, is that what I would say to that, Nick, is that in Sekiro, your main character is, for the first time in forever that I can think of with a From Software game, is a character. He has a name, he has a story, he's got a background. Sure. He's not a custom created character.
But you can change in any other game. Like Neo has a character. You can change his clothes. You can change his outfit. You can change his hair.
What about Shepard? You know,
Shepard, yeah. You can change. You can make a character customizable without it being, without losing that sense of character.
I'm not even saying Sekiro is, you know, From Software didn't like fuck up Sekiro.
Arthur Morgan. Just give me the option to give him a beard or a fucking different hat. God.
Yeah.
So fucking hard about that.
God, I love that game. Okay, I think that's good for questions tonight. Thank you so much for your questions. Of course, if you are a supporter on Patreon at any tier or a subscriber on Twitch, you can ask us questions every single week. As a reminder, we recently changed gears as to the way we accept questions. If you're a supporter on either Twitch or Patreon, you can go to the supporters channel in Discord. There's a pinned message that has a link to a Google form. You can submit questions at any time. I'm going to be reminding everybody a couple days prior to every show that they can start submitting questions, but you can literally do it anytime you want. So again, the supporters channel in Discord, find that pinned message and click the link, and you can submit your questions. If we didn't get to your question tonight, it'll come up on a future show. So feel free to submit whenever and however many questions you can think of. And now it is time to wrap up the show with the 4-player minute. Brad?
Yes.
Start us off.
All hypes this week, baby. So most of the announcements that came out post PlayStation 5 event were like mostly like indie games and stuff, but not all of them. And one of the announcements that I heard that was pretty exciting to me was that they announced that they're finally going to localize 13 Sentinels, Aegis Rim, which is the Vanillaware mech visual novel game. It's actually novel, but it came out in Japan. It sold like shit, which is why I thought we never get a localization, and it's been out for a while now. But the people who've played it said, like, dude, this game's actually like really fucking cool. And it's awesome that it's getting localized this year. So I'm excited about that. Also, Crosscode finally got a release date for the Switch, and it's like in 2.5 weeks or whatever. I'm excited. I got a grip specifically designed to give me maximum action game control, because it is quite an intensive like action game at the end of the day. Like it requires a lot of, you know, precision and stuff. So I'm ready for that. I'm excited. July 9th, I think, is the date. Hyped about Baldur's Gate 3. There is like about an hour and a half, 2 hour, about hour and a half playthrough of some new Baldur's Gate stuff today or yesterday.
Damn, is that long?
Yeah.
As long
as pretty dope.
I need to watch that.
Yeah, it's just one of those games that like I don't need to see anymore. I don't. I just need that game, and I'm still a little frustrated about early access, but it's gonna be like so amazing. I can't wait. And
good.
My final hype is for Refactor. Believe it or not, obviously we know the people who worked on Refactor, and I played the beta, and I was going into it going, well, hey, no matter how I feel about this game, I'm gonna, it's a work in progress, and I know these people, and I know it's tough making games, and I'm gonna be positive, right, outlook. But I was surprised by how excited I was to keep playing that game. Like I think like the core concept of like moving the map around as like puzzle pieces is still so fucking brilliant that I really kind of wanted to explore everything I could in that game and get all the secrets and stuff. And I'm excited to play that game when it finally comes out. It was fun.
Sweet. Awesome. I'm very much looking forward to playing that demo finally for the first time, which I might even do tonight after we finish recording. Crispy, you want to go next?
Sure. I, like Brad, am all hyped this week because of announcements and shit like that. So my first hype is going to be for The Last of Us, which just unlocked 38 minutes ago.
Sweet.
Last few days, the hype for that game really started setting in, and I know a lot of people are kind of whatever, down on it, blah blah blah, whatever. But dude, I don't know, man. I can't help. I fucking love it.
It's still reviewed incredibly well, so I think it's really just going to come down to how people feel about.
Well, like
that kind. You know what?
Watching gameplay, like watching a minute of gameplay of that game of like her running around and shooting is enough to just get me going. Like, yep, want to play that. Fucking great. Super excited about that. I'm also really hyped for Star Wars Squadrons. That shit looks like it's gonna be really cool, man. For VR with that PlayStation VR.
I'm full mast on that one now.
Can't fucking wait.
Wonder if I'm gonna get motion sick.
Yeah, right. I'm also going to say Baldur's Gate 3 because I was watching that gameplay demo from earlier and it's so sick. That and playing Solastira, whatever that game I talked about earlier. Yeah, I don't remember. I do not know what the fuck the name of that game is. But playing that game, like, it's really cool, and I really want to play that game when it is finished and out. But like, I would be lying if I said it didn't also make me sit there and go like, "Oh my god, Baldur's Gate! Like, oh my god, Baldur's Gate is gonna be so cool." So yeah, and then my final hype, I'm gonna give it to Deathloop because that's the game from the PlayStation 5 event that like for some reason got stuck in my head. Like that's the one that like kept coming back.
So there's some details about that game. I mean, y'all know what it is now, right? It's the crossing. It's that thing that they wanted to make 15 fucking years ago that got canceled, where it's a single player campaign with invasion mechanics. So the other player, the opposing assassin or whatever the fuck is, you could choose to play a single player. It'll be AI controlled, but if you're playing online, that character can invade your game,
like Dark Souls, kind of.
Fucking cool.
Like Dark Souls.
Well, like that like in a Dishonored, like
the crossing was a concept before even Demon Souls existed. So like they've been wanting to do this forever, and it's cool that they're finally doing.
I still need to watch that footage again that they showed the other day because I don't remember much of it, but I remember it being pretty cool.
It's drawing, yeah. I mean, it looks great, and from the footage you can see it. And a lot of people who had more insider information or like saw more extensive demos of the game are saying that it looks very much like Dishonored, which I mean I think is pretty evident from that reveal trailer they were doing the other day. Which I mean that alone is enough to get excited about, but like that on top of the like multiplayer like asymmetrical invasion mechanics is fucking crazy, and like the style and just like the whole flavor of the game just looks fucking dope.
That it does.
If you go back to watch like the first trailer for The Crossing from way back in the day, and I remember seeing this back in the day, that they made a name for it before invasion mechanics existed. They called it not single player, not multiplayer, cross player. They coined it and they gave it a logo, cross player. And there was like an accent. I was like, ooh, good thing they're not still using that word.
It does look cool. Hey, it's Arcane, man. I I love Arcane. Pretty much anything they've done this generation has been incredible. So,
Dude, right? It's gonna be good.
Chris Davis.
I'm sharing everyone's trend this week with 4 hypes. First
I got to
one,
rewrite all my
obviously-
shit.
Well, yeah. First one for me is obviously The Last of Us 2, which evidently Chris is going to play tonight before I can even get my hands on it. But about fucking time.
It's okay. You'll finish it way before everybody else.
I'm
I'm
I
finishing
am
it
taking
this
4 days
weekend.
off, so I'm thinking about unplugging my PS4 Pro, bringing it in here in the next room, and just running a long HDMI cord, just so
So
I
you
don't
don't have
have
to listen
to
to it?
hear the fucking thing whining with the fan.
This is why you get headphones, man.
Yeah, but I've got a 5.1 surround sound system. Why would I want to do headphones when I have that?
Because these headphones
I
are
mean,
dope.
if you have a good set of headphones, they can do pretty good surround sound.
Pretty
These
good,
headphones are
but
dope.
it's simulated. It's not the
Yes.
real thing, man. Not the real thing.
You turning your nose up at headphones, you bitch. Keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah, I am.
This is fucking classist bitch.
My second hype this week is for Project Wingman. I've kind of kept my eye on this game every now and then, but during I guess it was the PC Gamer Show last week, they actually showed off like a full trailer of it, and this game, it's like it's
Project
Ace
Wingman.
Combat but not done by Project Aces, and that excites me.
It does look. This looks like Ace Combat, man.
It really
yeah, hey,
does.
I get
but
it.
doesn't have like the full like sci-fi shit that
Dude,
Ace
I'm looking at a
Combat does.
screenshot right now that looks like a fucking sci-fi ship out of Ace Combat.
Do you see the Everspace 2 footage?
I have not yet, but I
reveal
hear
just
good
has
things.
It's just an X-wing. It's just a literal X-wing. They're gonna get sued.
They're gonna get sued.
Yeah. Speaking of Star Wars, my third hype is actually for Squadrons. What they were talking about in the EA presser today, I was cynical, just like everyone else here, but like what they were talking about with the craft customization, and what they were talking about with the multiplayer, how they've got like almost like the original Conquest mode from Unreal Tournament 2004 is kind of like a foundational model for what they're talking about here with these fleet battles where there's multiple stages and you're fighting back and forth for control and eventually blowing up capital ships. That sounds fucking fun.
That does sound pretty cool.
Yeah, and it also comes out the day after my birthday, so that's really nice.
Can I scream? Now this is pod racing. At some point,
Do whatever you
mean,
want.
You
The
could if you
fuck is
wanted.
that budget ass X-wing?
Also,
You just answered your own
I'm
question.
changing my last hype. It's not gonna be a hype. It's gonna be a fuck you. My fuck you goes to Cloud Imperium Games and Star Citizen. It's been 8 fucking years, and all these other games are beating you to the punch on what you promised. Fuck you guys.
Yeah,
What the fuck, man?
Elite Dangerous is adding in ground-based like
Yes.
gameplay, like on foot stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think it's gonna happen, guys. I don't think it's gonna happen.
It would be the biggest waste of money I've ever had then.
Well,
Jesus Christ.
It happens. Nolan, your
What's up,
turn.
Nick? Thought you forgot about me.
No, of course not. I'm literally going in the order that your screens are showing up on my.
Oh,
screen.
gotcha. All right. All right. My 4-player minute starts now. My hype is obviously for The Last of Us 2. Very excited for it. Literally this afternoon, finished a playthrough of The Last of Us. Very excited for that game. It's been 7 years since the first one came out.
Does anybody want to do a spoiler cast for this once we've all?
Why
Sure.
wouldn't we?
I mean,
Although I'm
just-
just going to be a little bit later than you guys probably because I'm gonna have to wait on Game Live.
That's fine. I mean, I just think next week we'll talk about the game mechanically speaking, but there's gonna be a lot of story bits we can't really talk about. That
Obviously,
anyway, sorry,
yeah.
Continue.
my collector's edition is supposed to show up tomorrow before 9 p.m. I really hope it's several hours before 9
The funny thing is
p.m.
yours is already shipped, and it says it's in Fort Worth, and it says before 9 p.m. Mine doesn't even say shipped yet, but it says 8 p.m.
Motherfucker.
How does Amazon work? I don't know.
My fuck you. First fuck you is gonna go to people not wearing masks. Come the fuck on. You're being stupid. I was out today, had to run some errands. Definitely plenty of people not wearing masks. Quite a few that are, but I'm pretty sure people, from what I've seen, especially in larger like kind of downtown areas, still gathering and stuff like that. Some of my coworkers from my Dallas office had like a physical happy hour. And I'm like, just because bars are open, I still don't think you should be going and risking yourself and others. Anyway, second fuck you is going to go to scalpers. There's been so much of it lately, and it's been super frustrating. And it's not just like scalpers, it's bot scalpers. And it's just like something will go in stock and immediately all the bots buy it up and they turn around and sell it at a higher price. And it's just so frustrating. And it's not even just video games. Like Bernadette's been trying to get this new Lego set that just came out. Can't find it anywhere for at least double the price. I got an alert. I have an in-stock alert that it went in stock. Go to get it within a minute and it's already all sold out. It's just like super frustrating. And my thank you this week is actually going to go to Bernadette. She's just been very kind and helpful lately. I'll say that. She never complains that I like to play video games a lot, and she's very supportive.
It's a good feeling.
And she even loves mayo, Nolan.
That's true. If I sweat mayonnaise, she would still love me. Her words.
That makes one of us. Sorry. Just kidding, Nolan. I love you. My 4-player minute starts now. My hype, as obviously, The Last of Us 2. I'm going to finish that game this weekend. And I did the math. It's going to take
supposed to be surprisingly long.
25 to 30 hours. I forgot who. I think it was GameSpot. All the staff members who played it posted basically a description of their style of play and how long it took them. The shortest one was like 24 hours. The highest one was 42. So
you're going to finish that in a weekend?
I mean, I have a 4-day weekend starting tomorrow. So I'm going to...
Monday a holiday?
No, I just took a 4-day weekend.
Oh.
So I'm going to do my damnedest to finish it this weekend if I can. I think that's one of those games that once you kind of get into it, you just kind of get lost in it. So I don't foresee it being an issue. And like I said, Robin is out of town right now. I've got nowhere to be, nothing to do. So that's what I'll be doing. Very excited. My sweat, and this is also kind of a hype. Spider-Man Miles Morales looks so cool. I'm so happy that character, if you played Spider-Man 2018 or whatever it was, that character was kind of introduced, but you never really got, it kind of left you going like, oh man, I want him to be, Spider-Man. And I didn't think we would see that character so soon. In fact, I thought it would probably be maybe introduced in Spider-Man 2, but the fact that they're introducing him early in his own kind of standalone game is really cool. My sweat is that it's going to end up feeling too short. It's going to be like, oh, you made this really awesome character, but he's kind of relegated to this like much smaller game.
They're saying like Uncharted Lost Legacy,
which is about 7 to 8 hours, I think. Which is, I'll take 7 to 8 hours of Miles Morales. Like that could be a really awesome game. But I'm also
the minorities get relegated to the shorter side games, but
I'm also hoping, and I feel like it's safe to assume that they'll do this, and then like when they introduce Spider-Man 2, it's going to be like both of them together, and you're like switching back and forth between them.
Spider-Man TOO.
I feel like this is just a really natural way to maybe introduce him like as a playable character into the universe before you do a mashup kind of game, which could be really, really fucking awesome. Spider-Man, thank you. I still haven't watched Into the Spider-Verse for a second time, and I own it.
Oh.
I know that's pretty shameful. But maybe I'll do that.
I watched it with Henry
for a second time.
Yeah, I watched it in theaters, loved it, bought it when it first came out. Still haven't watched it. Need to do that again.
So many times.
It's a great movie.
Okay.
My thank you goes to Limited Run Games. I've picked up a few of their things. They do some awesome stuff, but today they did a surprise release of Outer Wilds on PS4. And there's this like special collector's edition that they're releasing as well that comes with like postcards and remixes tracks of the soundtrack and stuff. And that's, that was pretty much our consensus of like 2018 or 2019 game of the year here. Everybody loved that game. So I'm really glad to see Limited Run doing this kind of thing and, making it available in a physical format. So thank you to them. And let's see. I'm going to do another hype because I'm excited about a lot of stuff. I started playing No Man's Sky Beyond, finally.
Wow.
I know. I've been saying I was going to do it, and I'm doing it.
Man, you get on some really random ass games sometimes.
I know. I mean, that's how I roll, baby.
I admire it, honestly. I wish I could do that.
You know what? I after hearing Crispy talk about it a while back when he was playing it, I kind of agree. Like, that game is totally different now, and it's for the better. I'm enjoying the hell out of it. I still haven't tried the VR stuff yet. I kind of want to do that. Maybe
you gotta.
I need to give it a try. But like, man, it's a totally different game now, and it's actually a game of consequence, and it's smart and fun, and I'm enjoying it. It's gonna be one of those games I'm probably playing for a long time, but off and on. But it's cool. I'm glad I finally went back to it because it's pretty dope.
It is.
But anyways, I think that concludes our show this evening, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out our Discord at discord.gg/4player. If you want to support us financially, which we always appreciate, patreon.com/4player, or of course you can subscribe to us on Twitch at 4pp.tv. We'd appreciate it. Revival Club, we're playing Sleeping Dogs right now. If you're interested in doing that, $3 tier or higher on Patreon is the cheapest way to get in on that. We'll be playing and discussing that game all month long, and I'll be looking for a guest to be on the podcast for that in July. So, and also Sleeping Dogs, I think, went on sale today for like $5 on Steam, maybe even less than that. I could be wrong. So it's a good time to jump in.
It's also $5 on PS4 still.
PS4,
right now,
yeah,
so.
I think it's on both. So yeah, great time to jump in. Really cool game. So check it out. But with that said, I think we're gonna call it a night. And next week we'll be back to talk about obviously The Last of Us. We won't be going into spoiler stuff. We'll talk about it mostly mechanics based. But there'll be plenty to unpack there. But until then, guys, be safe. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Wash your ass. And
Wash your ass.
Wash your ass.
If you're going to PAX, which still hasn't been canceled?
No, it was canceled.
Oh,
It's canceled. They're doing an online event in its place. So thank God, finally canceled. Yeah, thank you guys for watching. We will see you next Thursday night for another episode. Good night.
bye.
Bye.